I have been invincible for 100,000 years, without a single rival. My cultivation has reached the limit, yet I have no successor. I felt that living was truly becoming meaningless. But when my divine sense swept across the earth, I laughed with excitement. That is my own bloodline. I'm going to Earth to be a father. I stand on the streets of Hang City in early September, looking at the Yi family villa, adorned with lanterns and streamers. The corners of my mouth curl up slightly. I carefully sense that bloodline it belongs to a girl. After 100,000 years, I finally have the daughter I longed for. Hey handsome, are you here for the Yi family banquet too? Su Dai sized me up with curiosity. She seemed captivated by my extraordinary aura. I am here to pick up my daughter. Ignoring her, I moved forward with steady, firm strides. Step by step, I walked toward the Yi family's main gate. Su Dai stomped her foot in frustration, watching me without an invitation. She was certain the guards would throw me out. I ignored the managers and guards at the entrance, as if they did not exist at all. I walked straight through the crowd and entered. Su Dai watched in shock as I entered as if into an empty field. She grabbed her companion and cried out, "I have seen a ghost." The companion laughed and teased Su Dai for going mad, claiming there was no one at the gate at all. I looked back at Su Dai 20 meters away. I smiled and sent a telepathic message, "I am no ghost." Su Dai was so terrified her skin broke out in goosebumps. With a scream, she turned and bolted away, thinking she had truly encountered a phantom. I could not help but muse that ghosts are not the scary ones. I slowly began to survey the Yi family estate. Decorations filled with the stench of the nouveau riche. Guests were marveling at the Yi family's wealth, celebrating their rise as a great martial arts house. Everyone looked up to Yi Wuxuan with admiration. A middle-aged man lowered his voice, mentioning rumors that Yi Wuxuan stole his talent from infant blood. An elder beside him silenced him instantly and told him to leave, clearly terrified of offending the current Yi family. My brow furrowed deeply. My gaze turned cold in an instant. Realizing this talent was actually gained by consuming blood, killing intent surged within my heart. If this has anything to do with my precious daughter, the Yi family shall be washed in a river of blood today. Just then, a furious roar erupted. Someone cursed at a little girl, telling her to get back. A little girl, barely 5 or 6 years old, stumbled and fell onto the red carpet. With a face full of terror, she cried out for her mother. A guard with a hideous face threatened the child, vowing to lock her in a pitch-black, sunless room. Su Yi trembled at the mention of the dark room. She seized a moment of distraction to run for her life. I watched as the little girl bumped into my arms. That visceral connection, thicker than water, made me want to roar toward the heavens. Suppressing the turmoil in my heart, I asked with a trembling voice if her surname was Su. Su Yi clutched my sleeve in a panic. Pitifully, she begged me to save her. She said she wanted to find her mother. I reached out to wipe the tears from her eyes, promising her with a gentle smile, "Daddy is here. I will take you to find mommy right now." But Su Yi shrank back warily, calling me a bad man, thinking I wanted to trick her into letting me drink her blood. Hearing the words "drink blood," the killing intent in my heart boiled over instantly. The very sky above the earth changed its color. The burly guard walked over impatiently, ordering me to hand the girl over to him, or face the dire consequences. I laughed from extreme rage. The moment my voice fell, the guard's body exploded into a cloud of bloody mist. I had already covered Yi's eyes. Softly, I told her that Daddy is here. From now on, no one shall ever hurt her again. Su Yi caught a scent of safety from me. Timidly, she asked if I was truly her father. I let go of my hand and looked into her eyes, watching her doubt turn into pure joy. My heart was filled with nothing but tenderness. With red eyes, Su Yi hugged my neck tight, crying out "Daddy" with all her grievances. It felt as if my heart was about to melt. The banquet hall instantly descended into chaos. Yi Wanqing appeared, dressed in a red gown. She let out a sharp, cold shout, followed by over a dozen menacing guards. The guests looked warily at this woman, known as the Scorpion Beauty of the Yi family, whispering about her ruthless methods. Yi Wanqing wore a hypocritical smile, reaching out her hand for Yi to come over, telling her not to be with a stranger like me. Su Yi shook her head like a rattle. Clinging to me, she cried that Auntie Qing would prick her again. The fire of my rage was completely ignited. Staring at Yi Wanqing, I asked, "Have you decided how to die?" The entire hall fell into a deathly silence. Yi Wanqing froze, then sized me up carefully. "Who exactly are you? How dare you break into the Yi house?" I calmly stated my name, Su Lai. I am Yi's biological father. Yi Wanqing mocked me for abandoning them 5 years ago, asking what scheme I had by showing up now. I did not defend my departure from 5 years ago, but simply stated my purpose here. I am taking my daughter away. Yi Wanqing imperiously claimed Yi belonged to the Yi family, declaring she would never allow me to take her. She immediately ordered them to break my legs. The guests let out a collective sigh. They all looked at me with eyes full of pity, thinking I was doomed for provoking this mistress. At Yi Wanqing's command, the guards brandished their clubs and rushed me ferociously. Su Yi trembled in my arms, terrified. Crying, she told me to run quickly, fearing that I would be hurt. I stroked my daughter's hair, soothing her with a smile, telling her there was no need to run. I gestured to her that Daddy is a peerless master. None of these people are a match for me. Seeing this, Yi Wanqing's face turned even colder. She urged her guards to finish me off immediately. Su Dai hesitated in the crowd for a long time. In the end, she dared not offend the Yi family for a stranger. The Yi family was a titan her Su family could not compare to. A dozen clubs swung toward me, whistling through the air. I stood my ground, motionless as a mountain. I did not even blink. An invisible surge of energy erupted from within me, sending all the guards flying in an instant. Yi Wanqing narrowed her eyes, looking at me with surprise. Though shocked I was a martial artist, she remained fearless. A figure leaped down from the second floor. It was the Yi family's consecrated master, Han Buming. The guests recognized this Taekwondo grandmaster, marveling at the Yi family's deep foundations. While simultaneously breaking into a cold sweat for me, Han Buming stood with hands behind his back, full of arrogance. He critiqued my moves as being crude and unrefined, judging me to be merely a 4th-grade martial artist. A cold light flashed in Yi Wanqing's eyes. Hypocritically, she said she would give me own chance to cripple my own cultivation and leave Hang City forever. I curled my lip in disdain. I tore right through her hypocritical mask, mocking her for being a saint in public and a devil in private. The guests were left speechless and stunned. None expected me to insult the Yi heiress while facing death. Yi Wanqing's knuckles turned white with rage. She ordered Han Buming to kill me immediately. Leaving me alive would be a stain on the Yi family's honor. Han Buming cracked his neck with utter contempt, boasting of his 5th-grade cultivation level, advising me to end my own life to avoid further pain. I muttered to myself in feigned confusion, saying that Taekwondo does not even exist in the 3,000 Great Daos. Han Buming flew into a towering rage, feeling deeply insulted by my words. With a thunderous roar, he launched his attack, focusing all his strength into his instep. He delivered a sweeping whip kick. The speed was so great it left afterimages behind. Surrounding furniture was shattered by the sheer wind. I looked indifferently at his so-called terrifying strike. In my eyes, this was nothing more than an ant shaking a tree. The scene that followed left everyone paralyzed with shock. How dare a worm who knows nothing of death face the radiance of a great emperor? Facing Han Buming's assault, I remained calm and uttered but a single word. In an instant, Han Buming felt his scalp tingle and his hair stand on end. It was as if he were seized by a primal terror, a crisis born of an ancient beast. Han Buming suppressed his fear and did not pause for even a second. Instead, he increased his speed, vowing in his heart that this man would never dare provoke the Yi family in his next life. Seeing that the opponent was intent on seeking death, I no longer held back. I decided to fulfill the wish of this ignorant ant who knew not the vastness of the heavens. Before the eyes of the crowd, Han Buming's body inexplicably soared 10 meters into the air. Then, like a meteorite, he slammed into the ground, every bone and sinew shattered. The guests in the banquet hall gasped in unison. They could not believe that this once glorious 5th-grade powerhouse was instantly annihilated in a heartbeat. After a brief moment of shock, Yi Wanqing demanded my identity in a frigid voice. She refused to believe that Su Yi's father could be such a master of the martial path. I responded with indifference, stating that I am indeed Yi's father. Today, I am not only here to take her away, but also to demand justice for my daughter. Yi Wanqing sneered, saying that while killing Master Han showed some skill, demanding justice from the Yi family was the height of arrogance. Facing her mockery, I simply asked a question in a calm tone. Does the Yi family truly believe they are worthy of Yi's blood? Yi Wanqing proudly declared the Yi family as the premier house of Hang City. Her brother, Yi Wuxuan, was a future martial grandmaster, making him more than worthy. The elites who understood martial ranks were shaken to their core. They never expected Yi Wuxuan to be a seed for the legendary martial grandmaster rank, a position of heavenly power. I remained oblivious to their shock. I merely asked a casual question. What exactly is so impressive about a so-called martial grandmaster? A middle-aged man strode in from outside, laughing out of sheer rage. He barked at me with authority, claiming a grandmaster could kill me as easily as slaughtering a chicken. I turned to look at this sudden arrival. My tone remained unruffled as I inquired, "And who might you be?" The guests immediately recognized Tang Yi, president of the Hang City Martial Arts Association. His external cultivation was legendary, making him invulnerable and peerless in his rank. Tang Yi bowed slightly to Yi Wanqing with a smile. He stated his uninvited presence was merely to show respect to the Yi family's eldest daughter. Yi Wanqing immediately pointed at me to lodge her complaint with Tang Yi. This man not only killed Master Han, but also showed great disrespect to a grandmaster. Please, punish him. Tang Yi was secretly startled. He did not expect this fair-skinned, elegant young man to have dispatched Han bumming with such ease. Perhaps he, too, was a 5th grade master. Tang Yi considered his own peak 5th grade status and invulnerable technique, wanting to curry favor with the Yi family. He suppressed the slight trace of apprehension in his heart. Tang Yi donned a stern face and began his interrogation. He demanded my name and origin, threatening to strip my martial status and cripple my cultivation. I looked at this clown standing on his high horse, trying to decide my life and death. There was no ripple in my eyes, only cold indifference. The guests in the hall all turned their gaze toward me. Some felt pity, others watched with cold detachment, all waiting to see if I would die standing or live on my knees. Yi Wanqing's lips curled into a faint, amused smile. She looked forward to seeing me kneel and beg for mercy in utter despair. Su Yi shrank into my arms in fear, whispering softly. She felt that this shouting man looked very frightening. I gently comforted my daughter, telling her not to fear. I then looked up and told Tang Yi, "Due to your ignorance, I shall spare you the death penalty. But if you make another sound, you die." Tang Yi laughed out loud as if he had heard the world's greatest joke. He boasted that a single word from him could leave me without a grave. Before Tang Yi's words could even settle, a bloody hole abruptly appeared in his forehead. His body collapsed with a thud. He did not even finish his sentence before he died. The banquet hall fell once again into a deathly silence. Everyone watched this terrifying scene of remote killing with horror. I stood there holding my daughter. In the eyes of everyone, my figure suddenly became towering and immense, like a demon god descending upon the world. Yi Wanqing's expression changed for the first time. She asked in a chilling voice, having seen 2 people killed, if I truly intended to fight the Yi family to a mutually destructive end. I shook my head seriously and corrected her. This is not mutual destruction. It is the Yi family that dies, while I, Su Lai, live. A massive sense of crisis welled up in Yi Wanqing's heart. Her brother was not home, and her trump cards were exhausted. For the first time, she felt a sense of sheer panic. Hiding her cowardice behind a stern facade, she shouted, demanding to know what I truly wanted, warning me not to think the Yi family was an easy target. I repeated my demand in a calm voice. I only wanted to know who gave them the courage to take Yi's blood for her worthless trash brother. Yi Wanqing finally tore off her mask of a refined lady. She screamed that taking a little blood was the brat's honor, and the honor of my entire family. I took a deep breath. In these 100,000 years, I have seen countless people, but never an existence as utterly shameless as Yi Wanqing. With a hideous expression, Yi Wanqing claimed that it was she who had saved Su Yi's life back then. Therefore, taking some blood now was not excessive at all. I closed my eyes, deducing the truth of 5 years ago from these few words. The suppressed killing intent in my heart began to surge. Back then, Ruan Tang had begged Yi Wanqing in the heavy snow not to take the child, because she had treated her as the only friend she could trust. I rubbed the bridge of my nose. I did not expect that Yi Wanqing had not only betrayed Ruan Tang, but had also forcibly taken Yi and notified the Ruan family. Seeing that I knew the details, Yi Wanqing dropped all pretense. She admitted her jealousy of everything Ruan Tang possessed, including her man. Yi Wanqing made no effort to hide the envy in her voice. She could not endure that in the eyes of all men, there was only Ruan Tang and never Yi Wanqing. She recalled the proud Ruan Tang begging for money. Looking so humble and desperate, a proud and satisfied smile appeared on Yi Wanqing's face. Su Yi understood that this bad woman was bullying her mother. Crying, she waved her tiny fists, wanting to hit Yi Wanqing. Yi Wanqing was not ashamed of being a villain. She took pride in it. She boasted of the mental torture she inflicted on Ruan Tang using the child. Excitedly, Yi Wanqing described how she discovered that Su Yi's blood could enhance cultivation. It was as if she had discovered a human-shaped heavenly treasure. The elites of Hang City listened to the truth from Yi Wanqing's own mouth. All were stunned by the sheer ruthlessness of this venomous woman. Yi Wanqing noticed the shift in their gaze but did not care. She insisted her brother was the chosen one, and that possessing this medicinal ingredient was only right. With a cold expression, she gave her final ultimatum. Leave the child and get out of Hang City, or your family of 3 shall die without a grave. My voice turned icy as I remarked on her stubbornness, that she dared to treat my precious daughter as medicine. She was simply begging for death. I reached out with my palm. Yi Wanqing's body floated toward me uncontrollably. Her neck was gripped tightly in my hand. The head of the Yi family, Yi Tianan, and his wife, Su Ryu, finally broke. They rushed out from the crowd, shouting for me to release her. Su Ryu snorted, stating that taking only 100 milliliters of blood a day would not kill her, warning me that if I hurt her daughter, death would be too good for me. I narrowed my eyes, my heart aching with pain. Had he not possessed my bloodline, she would have likely died long ago in this inhumane torture. Seeing my silence, Su Ryu thought I was afraid. She pushed further with provocative mockery. I bet you would not dare touch a hair on my head. I replied with a flat tone, what is there to fear? With a single glance, Su Ryu was instantly transformed into a cold corpse. Eyes closed, Sui asked in an anxious voice, Daddy, are they bullying you? My cold gaze instantly softened with tenderness. Do not be afraid, Your father is very powerful. None of these bad people are a match for me. Since you dared to lay a finger on the daughter of Su Lai, I will make you regret ever coming into this world. The pride and coldness I displayed before Hang City's top clan left everyone wondering if I truly had no fear of Yi Wuxuan. Yi Wanqing's eyes were bloodshot, her gaze filled with venom. My brother has the potential of a great emperor. He won't let you go. I casually tossed Yi Wanqing onto the ground, stating in a flat, unimpressed tone, I shall wait right here for this so-called Yi Wuxuan. Crawling on the floor, Yi Wanqing glared at Yi with hatred, regretting she had not simply crippled the girl's legs back then. Suddenly, the sky over Hang City was swallowed by dark clouds. Thunder shook the very foundations of the heavens. A torrential downpour erupted, fueled by resentment. The guests were startled by the thunder and looked outside. Through the curtain of rain, a silver streak of light approached rapidly. The silver light halted 50 meters above the Yi estate. As the glow faded, a young man with flowing long hair emerged. The pupils of every guest present contracted in unison. They recognized the pillar of the Yi family, Yi Wuxuan, radiating a sharp, awe-inspiring sword intent. Yi Wuxuan slammed onto the ground, causing the earth to tremble. His gaze, sharp as a blade, swept across the entire hall. Finally locking onto me, under the crushing weight of his physical pressure, the guests felt a chill. They collapsed in a sorry state, not daring to utter a word. Only then did they realize his terror far exceeded their imagination. The ability to arrive from the sky made him seem like a deity. Yi Wanqing wept bitterly as she told her brother the tragic news of their parents' deaths, begging him to avenge their family and their fallen parents. Rainwater evaporated instantly within a yard of Yi Wuxuan. He looked at me with a gaze as cold as ice. I will give you own minute for your final words. I looked at this prodigy who had been hyped for so long, and shook my head in utter disappointment. To me, he was nothing more than another piece of trash. Empowered by his presence, Yi Wanqing stood to pronounce my death, vowing to sell Ruan Tang into a life of misery. Yi Wuxuan stood with hands behind his back, arrogance in his eyes. Having grasped the heavenly Tao, I have reached half-step grandmaster, a height that people like you can only look up to. A collective gasp of shock filled the room. So Yi Wuxuan truly had touched the threshold of a grandmaster. No wonder he remained dry in the rain and could fly through the air. Sui whispered softly to me, Daddy, this man bullied Mommy. This caused a trace of frost to flicker in my normally calm eyes. Yi Wuxuan remarked with casual indifference that not killing Ruan Tang was an act of mercy. Slapping her was merely a small lesson. I did not wait for him to finish speaking. From 10 meters away, I raised my hand and delivered a slap. The movement was as casual as shooing away a fly. Before he could react, Yi Wuxuan was sent flying backward. He tore a deep trench into the floor until he crashed into a wall. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood mixed with teeth, his left cheek swelling up like a pig's head. Furious, he let out a roar to summon his long sword. Yi Wuxuan uttered a single word, kill. The water-formed sword pierced the air, making the void tremble. The banquet hall began to collapse under the sheer sword intent. The elites of Hang City were paralyzed with horror. None believed I could block this world-shaking strike from a half-step grandmaster. Under their shocked gazes, I raised my hand again, performing a slap that was as simple as could be. That long sword, radiating lethal intent and chilling power, shattered inch by inch in mid-air. It could not get within a fraction of an inch of me. Yi Wuxuan watched with eyes full of disbelief, as the shattered water sword transformed into countless palms, slapping his own face with frantic intensity. The crisp sound of slaps rang out without end. From screams of agony at first to total silence at the end, nothing remained but a pool of blood. Every guest in the hall was frozen in shock. The invincible prodigy, Yi Wuxuan, had actually been slapped to death. Drenched and shivering, Yi Wanqing stood blankly like a drowned rat. She could not believe the pride of her family had vanished like mist. This was the man who supposedly had the potential of an emperor. She collapsed by the bloodstain, wailing in grief, unable to accept that the future world's number one had died in such a humiliating and pathetic manner. Su Yi's eyes widened, watching as her father easily shattered the Yi family nightmare. She happily praised me for being truly amazing. I withdrew my killing intent. At this moment, I was merely the father of a child. I smiled and praised her mother for being the most amazing own, for giving birth to such a lovely daughter. In my warm embrace, Su Yi felt sleepiness wash over her. Muttering that she was tired, she fell into a deep sleep. Yi Wanqing stood up and looked at me with a hateful glare, wishing I would fall into eternal purgatory, never to be reborn. I snapped my fingers. The souls of Yi Tianen, Su Ru, and Yi Wuxuan drifted out. They floated in the air with blank, confused expressions. The rest of the Yi family who had ever bullied Su Yi were also pulled uncontrollably into the air, letting out screams of sheer terror. Yi Wanqing tried to flee, her scalp tingling with fear, only to find her own body rising into the sky as well. She was completely unable to move. With a wave of my hand, I took all the souls and people away. What awaited them was 100,000 years of slow, agonizing torture. From this day forward, for 100,000 years, they will remember my name in the depths of purgatory. I stood in the midst of the pouring rain, tightly holding my daughter, who had already fallen asleep. Though my figure looked solitary, I stood as firm as Mount Tai. In the eyes of the guests watching with complex emotions, there was only deep, profound dread. For they had witnessed this man's terrifying power. The legendary names Tang Yi, Han Buming, even Yi Wuxuan, had all fallen silently at the hands of this man. I did not explain anything to anyone. In my eyes, all life and death are but the cycle of karma. Had the Yi family not harmed Yi, I would not have bothered with them. If not for the harm done to his daughter, he would have preferred to just find his wife and child, and live a peaceful, ordinary life. I looked up at the sky and muttered to myself, rain on the joyful day of reuniting with my daughter. I wondered if the earth's heavenly Tao was targeting me. At my command, the dark clouds vanished in an instant. Along the streets of Hang City, the gardenia trees quietly bloomed at that very moment. I watched the snow-white petals swaying in the breeze, and finally revealed a satisfied smile. Softly, I said to the daughter in my arms, "Yi, I am taking you home." Su Yi was sleeping soundly on a soft cloud I formed with power, completely unaware of the earth-shaking events that had occurred. I looked down at the mortal world and began to worry. Though I found my daughter and knew where her mother was, explaining a 5-year disappearance was quite a puzzle. In my helplessness, I sent a telepathic message to the first divine general, Tao Tai, in the heavenly palace, ordering him to Earth to help me come up with a plan. 10 minutes later, Tao Tai arrived through a rift in space. Looking at the exquisitely beautiful Su Yi, he immediately knelt on one knee in the void, showering the little princess with praise. Hearing my subordinate boast that my daughter looks just like me, and that she would surely be a great beauty in the future, a look of satisfaction appeared on my face, and my mood brightened considerably. Then, my expression suddenly slumped. Your lady mother surely hates me to death right now. How can I win back the heart of my child's mother? It turned out this fellow's head was filled with nothing but fighting and killing. I kicked away the Tao Tai who tried to solve the problem with brute force. I called you here for a plan to win a woman's heart, not a war. I sighed, realizing that if you want something done right, you must do it yourself. I decided I still had to find my own way to face Ruan Tang. After all, avoiding the issue is never the solution. I suddenly remembered the forbidden zone of the Western Immortal Realm. The sealed Black Dragon clan had been restless lately. I ordered Tao Tai to catch 2 tender dragons to nourish my daughter's body. I calculated in my heart that black dragon meat is extremely restorative. perfect for making a delicious soup and some braised meat, to properly mend my malnourished daughter's health. After Tai left, I struggled with my thoughts for a long time. Finally, I decided to go straight to Ruan Tang once my daughter woke up. Dragging this out forever was not a long-term solution. Ruan Tang was currently standing in the CEO's office of the Ruan Fashion Company in Donghai City, staring blankly at the traffic. Since this morning, she had been calling Yi Wanqing with no response. Her heart was filled with unease. She vowed to find a way to rescue her daughter. She heard the secretary report that a man with a child had broken into the company. She turned instantly, her eyes burning as she asked who it was. When Ruan Tang heard the secretary say the name Sui, she, who usually remained unfazed even if Mount Tai collapsed before her, ran out of the office with a rare, frantic excitement. Anxiously pressing the elevator button, she found it stuck. Without hesitation, she kicked off her high heels and sprinted down the stairs at full speed. I was currently standing in the first-floor lobby, patiently explaining to the 4 guards lying on the floor that I truly was here to find my wife. On my shoulder sat Sui, now dressed in clean clothes. The little girl swung her legs back and forth, asking with a sad face if mommy did not want us anymore. Ruan Tang pushed open the stairwell door. Seeing her longed-for daughter sitting on a man's shoulder, tears instantly fell uncontrollably from her eyes. She ran over and pulled Sui tightly into her arms. Her voice choked as she spoke, "Mommy missed you so much." She was terrified that all of this was just a dream. Sui looked up and wiped the tears from Ruan Tang's face with her tiny hands, softly comforting her mother, telling her not to cry. She even turned to ask me if mommy would not be pretty if she cried. Hearing the title Daddy, Ruan Tang warily took 2 steps back. When she finally saw my face clearly, she froze for 30 seconds before gritting her teeth and shouting, "Su Lai." She roared at me in a rage, "You still have the nerve to show your face to me." Clearly, 5 years of accumulated resentment exploded at this moment. I coughed awkwardly and tried to call her wife. As a result, I was immediately interrupted and denied by Ruan Tang. I could only change my tone and suggest we find a place to talk slowly. Ruan Tang finally realized they were in the middle of a public lobby. Not only was the secretary there, but other employees were also watching the scene in stunned silence. To prevent more people from making a joke of her, she could only take Yi and me back to her home in Baiyun district. Even though she was 100% unwilling in her heart, I sat on the living room sofa, staring back and forth with Ruan Tang. The atmosphere was tense and hostile. Only Sui was carefree, looking exceptionally happy while eating an apple. Ruan Tang broke the silence first and interrogated me. "How did my daughter end up with you? And what exactly is your relationship with the Yi family?" I explained that the Yi family had been wiped out. The daughter missed her mother, so I brought her back. I am the child's father, after all. "How can you be so heartless to me?" Ruan Tang looked me in the eye and said indifferently, "While I was being tortured by the Yi family and oppressed by my own family, you were already dead to me in my heart." Seeing this, Sui immediately grabbed Ruan Tang's sleeve. She said pitifully, "Please do not make Daddy go away." That aggrieved look would make it impossible for anyone to stay hard-hearted. Ruan Tang looked at her daughter's pouting mouth and falling tears, suddenly finding herself at a loss. She could only softly comfort her. "Mommy was just joking with Daddy." Sui looked at her mother expectantly. "Mommy, he wants the whole family to be together forever." She said all the other children had their parents with them, and that she also wanted a complete home. Though Ruan Tang intended to drive this heartless man away, facing her daughter's only request, she truly could not bear to refuse and could only nod in helpless agreement. She watched her daughter happily give her a big kiss, then run over to give me own as well. Though anger still lingered in her heart, for the sake of her daughter's smile, she could only endure for now. After the daughter ran off to play, Ruan Tang regained her ICCO persona. "Su Lai, this does not mean I have forgiven you. I just do not want Yi to be without a father." When I heard the proposal for a contract marriage, I raised an eyebrow. The mother of my child was angry. I could not rush things. In order to stay, I nodded and agreed. I made a solemn promise that I would spend the rest of my long life making it up to them. I vowed to make them the happiest women in the universe. Ruan Tang stated she would draft a 5-year contract. If either met someone they liked during that period, the contract would be void. Also, how exactly did you rescue Yi? My mouth twitched slightly as I made up a random excuse to brush it off. Then I said, "Since we are acting as a couple, let us go get registered tomorrow." Ruan Tang was stunned by this man's train of thought. She explained it was just a contract and no registration was needed. She also demanded that I go out and find a job, not just live off her. I pondered for a long time but could not find a suitable job, so I suggested helping out at Ruan Tang's company. In response, Ruan Tang dismissed me with a look of utter disdain. My heart was filled with anticipation for this ordinary life. I silently set a small goal for myself, to turn this contract marriage into a real own as soon as possible. I received a telepathic message from General Taotai saying the dragons were caught. In an instant, 2 snake-like creatures appeared in my hand. I carried them directly into the kitchen. I got busy in the kitchen, preparing these 2 precious black dragons, rare even in the immortal realm, into soup and braised meat to nourish my daughter's body. Ruan Tang heard noise in the kitchen. She walked over and saw me handling what looked like snakes. She instantly turned pale with horror. "Where did you get snakes? I will absolutely never eat those." I solemnly corrected her. "This is black dragon meat. It is very precious." But Ruan Tang did not believe it at all. Sneering, she slammed the kitchen door, saying she would not eat if she starved. Soon, an irresistible aroma wafted through the living room. Sui sat in her chair, her eyes sparkling like stars. She took a piece of braised meat, her face full of pure bliss. Ruan Tang watched her daughter feasting with gusto, though she worried the food might be unclean. The smell made her stomach give an unceremonious growl. With a half-smile, I urged Ruan Tang, "Some. It prolongs life and enhances beauty." Though Ruan Tang said she would not eat, her body honestly picked up the chopsticks. With the intent to just try it, Ruan Tang took a piece of meat. She instantly felt the dragon meat melt on her tongue. A warm current surged through her entire body. Though she stubbornly said the taste was just average, the speed of her chopsticks grew faster and faster, completely ignoring her image. I looked at the tsundere, stubborn Ruan Tang and curled my lip. I thought to myself, this woman is just as duplicitous as ever. In the end, even the soup was finished by the mother and daughter. Ruan Tang looked at the changes in her skin and aura in the mirror, and a trace of doubt could not help but surface in her heart. She shook her head, forcing herself not to believe my nonsense, thinking it was merely an illusion after a satisfying meal. It was impossible for it to truly be some kind of dragon meat. While I was washing dishes in the kitchen, I asked Ruan Tang if she had ever thought of becoming the ruler of the universe, controlling the 6 paths of reincarnation. After serious thought, Ruan Tang said she could not imagine things so far-fetched. She gently held Sui in her arms, saying her only wish now was for her daughter to grow up healthy. Ruan Tang received a call from her sister, Ruan Lan, learning the news that the Yi family of Hang City had been wiped out by a mysterious master. In her shock, she subconsciously glanced at me in the kitchen. Though she had questions in her heart, she did not say much over the phone. After hanging up, she busied herself contacting Xinghe Kindergarten to arrange her daughter's schooling. Sue, getting sleepy, started clamoring for bed, and proposed the dangerous idea of sleeping between her mommy and daddy. This left Ruan Tang instantly dumbfounded. Ruan Tang firmly objected and signaled me with her eyes to refuse. Instead, I said that while her idea was dangerous, we would make an exception just this once. I completely sold her out. Before she could refuse, she saw her daughter on the verge of tears. She could only succumb to a helpless compromise. But in secret, she gave me a sharp kick as punishment. I looked at my clever little daughter and praised her in my heart. This assist was absolutely brilliant. Though my foot throbbed with pain, my heart was filled with bliss. Ruan Tang took her daughter to wash up, and when they came out, she took her straight to the bedroom. Deliberately claiming the girl was asleep, she shut me out of the room. I looked at the closed door and Ruan Tang's calm eyes, and could only accept reality with a sigh. Obediently, I took my pillow to the guest room to sleep. The next morning, Sui finished washing up and put on a white dress. Carrying her little backpack, she sat in Ruan Tang's BMW, chirping happily. At the kindergarten gate, Ruan Tang received a call from her secretary. Originally intending to witness her daughter's first day, her expression began to fill with hesitation. I smiled and said that if the company was busy, she should go. After dropping off I could look for a job along the way. Ruan Tang kissed her daughter's forehead, then looked at me and said, "Thank you for the hard work." Only then did she reluctantly drive away in her BMW 3 Series. I held Sui's small hand, intending to enter the kindergarten, but was stopped by 4 guards at the gate because I was a new face. After listening to my explanation, the captain of the guards learned that Sui was a new student checking in. He smiled and said that although the gates were not officially open, I could go in. I nodded in agreement. On the way to the office, I had a casual chat with the captain about the general situation of the kindergarten. The captain explained that this kindergarten was famous in Donghai City, It offered elite education for the nobility, with tuition over 300,000 yuan a year. Only then did I realize that money alone was not enough to get in. Own needed incredibly strong connections and relationships. No wonder the captain was being so polite. The teacher, a recent university graduate, had a gentle smile on her face. She reminded me that Yi's father must leave the premises before 7:30. I nodded my thanks and planned to show my daughter around. Xinghe Kindergarten was massive and fully equipped. Just then, a chubby little boy named Qian Xiao, dressed in designer brands, blocked our path with an exceptionally arrogant posture. Qian Xiao sized up Su Yi and muttered that she was quite pretty. He then claimed to be the boss of the kindergarten and told her to call him Brother Qian. Su Yi hid behind me, somewhat afraid. She looked at him timidly and refused softly, saying she would not do it. Qian Xiao spoke with an air of mock maturity. Woman, your ignorance has piqued my interest. I am the sole heir to the Qian group. Looking at this 6-year-old child, I was momentarily speechless. I wondered if the kid was just asking for a lecture. Qian Xiao brandished a colorful cotton candy in his hand. Just call me Brother Qian, and I will give you a bite. This is a limited edition. You can't buy it even with money. Su Yi's eyes widened at the cotton candy, and she quietly swallowed her saliva. But she still said softly that she would never call him Brother Qian. She claimed she did not want to eat it at all. Qian Xiao ruthlessly exposed her. If you can't buy it, just say so. Do not make excuses. Just call me Brother Qian, and I will protect you in this kindergarten. Su Yi retorted, my daddy is the most powerful person in the world. He can surely buy it. I simply do not want to eat it, that is all. Hearing this, my heart instantly warmed. I casually snapped my fingers. A white cloud in the sky drifted down like smoke, condensing into pure white cotton candy. Qian Xiao blinked hard to make sure it was not a hallucination. Seeing that the cloud in the sky had indeed vanished, he was completely stunned. Smiling, I handed the large, white cloud candy to my daughter. I told her to taste the flavor of a real cloud. Su Yi's eyes crinkled into beautiful crescents. She looked gorgeous. After taking a large bite, she stood on her tiptoes to let me have some too. I took a bite and was surprised to find the taste was unexpectedly good. It seemed cotton candy made from clouds was indeed a delicacy. Qian Xiao looked at the limited edition cotton candy in his hand. Suddenly, it did not taste as good as before. It had lost that flavor that symbolized his status. Su Yi quickly finished the cotton candy. She tilted her little face up and looked at me expectantly. Daddy, Yi wants another own. I smiled, agreed, and beckoned again. A large cluster of cirrus clouds drifted down as smoke to form more cotton candy. Su Yi took small, deliberate bites, as if purposely to annoy Qian Xiao. While eating, she asked if she could eat a dark storm cloud next time. I doted on her, saying she could have any cloud she wanted. Watching Qian Xiao swallow his saliva repeatedly, I found it quite amusing. Qian Zhao's envious eyes were glued to the candy, unable to look away. He asked longingly what a cloud tasted like. He whispered a plea, ask your daddy to make own for me too. Su Yi refused him flatly. No way, this is my daddy. My daddy only makes them for me. Go ask your own daddy to do it. Qian Xiao smiled sheepishly. My dad. He does not know how to do that. Tell you what, from now on, you are the big boss of this kindergarten. If anyone misbehaves, I will beat them up for you. Hearing this, Su Yi could not have been happier. Then, Su Yi turned to look at me. Daddy, can you make a cotton candy for him too? I smiled and pinched my daughter's little cheek. Alright, I will do whatever my Yi says. If Yi says make own, I will make own. Su Yi gave a wave of her small hand. Under Qian Zhao's incredibly expectant gaze, she showed her little tiger teeth, smiled sweetly, and said, still not giving it to him. Qian Xiao was instantly stunned, looking utterly wronged. His nose began to twitch. He looked like he was about to burst into tears at any second. Su Yi was startled and hurriedly said, I was just teasing you. Su Yi handed the cotton candy I made to the tearful Qian Xiao. Qian Xiao was instantly revitalized and excitedly took the candy. After taking a huge bite, he felt as if his body were soaring through the clouds. After finishing it, Qian Xiao said with total devotion, from now on you are my big sister. And uncle, you are my real father. I palmed my forehead looking at this 6-year-old boy. I thought to myself, although this kid is unreliable, with him around, my daughter will be able to integrate into the group. I left the kindergarten at 7:30 and wandered the streets. Regrettably, I spent the whole morning without finding a suitable job. I arrived at Ruan Tang's company to discuss employment, only to see a young man in a suit presenting roses. Li Jie stood by the office door with a warm, practiced smile. Handing a large bouquet to Ruan Tang, claiming flowers suit a beauty. Ruan Tang hesitated to accept the gift. The Li family had a major deal and promised her a storefront. Refusing might jeopardize their entire cooperation. Li Jie sensed Ruan Tang's inner conflict. He stated the flowers were merely a token of admiration, not business, and invited her to a class reunion at noon. A subtle, triumphant smile flickered across Li Jie's face. He was confident Ruan Tang would fall into his trap. As her company's capital chain was on the verge of breaking, I walked straight over and took the roses from Li Jie's hand, pulling Ruan Tang into my arms and presenting the flowers to her. Wife, these 99 roses represent my heart. Ruan Tang's heart suddenly began to race. Though she wanted to stomp on my foot, she blushed and lowered her head, playing along with this sudden drama. Watching Ruan Tang's shy expression, Li Jie was nearly bursting with rage. He had pursued her for 7 years, only to be intercepted by a stranger. He demanded to know if I was just borrowing his flowers to offer the Buddha. I shook my head, sighing at how forgetful the world is. I had only been out of fashion for 5 years, yet no one remembered me. 5 years ago, Ruan Tang and I caused a storm with our unwed pregnancy. Li Jie instantly felt a surge of crisis within. Ruan Tang, do not choose this man who abandoned you. I promised to treat Yi as my own biological daughter. Ruan Tang hesitated for a long while, then deliberately stated, I am already engaged to him. Thank you for your kindness, but I cannot accept. Li Jie's expression soured, but he forced a smile. The reunion at noon, you will still attend that, right? He intended to reclaim his dignity at that venue. I spoke up a step ahead of him. Do not worry, I will accompany Ruan Tang. My sudden intervention completely disrupted the plan Li Jie had in mind. He gave us both a deep, searching look. Miwa tea house. Be there or be square. He then turned and left. I, however, asked with total sincerity, Wife, what kind of job do you think I should get? A man as exceptional as your husband will bring a revolution to whichever industry he joins. Ruan Tang rolled her eyes at me. How was Yi's situation today? I smiled. Very good. Yi just recruited a subordinate. Well, she made a new friend. The school is great, but the tuition is truly expensive. Ruan Tang said not to worry about money. She could handle it, but seeing her financial report, I asked if her capital chain was broken. I declared with high spirits that if she wished, our family could become the world's richest today and solve everything. Ruan Tang's lips twitched as she handed me a credit card. She told me to use it until I found a job so our daughter would not suffer. After giving me the card, Ruan Tang looked worried. The reunion is full of people from wealthy families. You might end up being excluded or bullied. I shrugged noncommittally, thinking to myself, regarding family background, I fear no one. So, I followed Ruan Tang to the gathering. I entered private booth 17 with Ruan Tang. The room fell silent in an instant. Everyone sized up Ruan Tang's rumored boyfriend. The classmates saw my appearance and clothes were ordinary. I looked like a complete bystander. They could not help but feel disappointed and amused for Ruan Tang. Su Yaoyao waved happily from a corner, signaling Ruan Tang to come over. She was Ruan Tang's college roommate and one of her few true friends. Yaoyao complained angrily that these classmates were fair-weather friends. They took Ruan Tang's favors back then, but now won't even say hello. Ruan Tang comforted her softly, saying it is normal for people to seek the elite. She did not care about the cold shoulders from those she once helped. Zhu Feng asked Ruan Tang to pour tea for everyone with a biting tone. Jealous of Ruan Tang's past glory, she wanted to trample her now. Su Yaoyao retorted indignantly that the booth had waiters. You are truly ungrateful wolves. If not for Ruan Tang's help back then, I doubt you would even have a place in this city now. Song Qin adjusted his tie and snorted that his success was purely from hard work. He completely denied Ruan Tang's contribution in introducing connections. Yao Yao was stunned by the shamelessness of this couple. She demanded to know why Li Jie was not speaking up to help. Li Jie, however, chose to remain a cold bystander. He stated indifferently that pouring a cup of tea was no big deal. He wanted to use this to make Ruan Tang face reality. She was no longer the unattainable goddess. Her capital chain was about to snap. Su Yaoyao was so angry she tried to pull Ruan Tang away. Ruan Tang smiled and stopped her, saying the tea should be poured, using it as a way to see the true colors of people. I moved a step ahead and picked up the teapot. Under Ruan Tang's complex gaze, I filled the cups own by own, diffusing the current embarrassment. Seeing this, Li Jie picked up his cup and jovially played the peacemaker. He proposed a toast to everyone, but except for Yao Yao, no one paid any attention to us as a couple. Throughout the meal, everyone constantly flattered Li Jie. Zhu Fang and Song Qin occasionally mocked Yuan Tang and me, in order to curry favor with Li Jie. Li Jie expressed regret that they could not dine at the Fenghua Pavilion, but his uncle told him a VIP booked it, so they stayed in a regular booth. Zhu Fang's eyes lit up learning Li Jie's uncle was the tea house manager. She immediately raised her glass with a flirtatious smile. Young Master Li is so successful now. If there is a chance, do not forget to give Song Qin a hand. Just then, a middle-aged man with a square face walked in. Li Jingnan, with his beer belly, laughed heartily, saying since his nephew was hosting, he had to come toast a cup of tea. The classmates, learning this was manager Li Jingnan, all felt a surge of excitement and stood up, flattered, to return the salute. Li Jingnan shared an embarrassing childhood story of Li Jie to build rapport, then left, saying the boss was at Fenghua Pavilion welcoming a VIP. After his uncle left, Li Jie became the center of even more attention. The classmates began to drink heavily, wildly praising Li Jie's family background. Song Qin returned from the restroom with a palm print on his face. He cursed and grumbled, saying he accidentally bumped into an old man and got slapped. Li Jie frowned, but thinking of his uncle's power, he patted his chest and guaranteed that he would cover everything if anything happened, telling everyone to relax. The booth door was kicked open, startling everyone. An old man with white hair but a spirited appearance entered. The old man's gaze locked onto Song Qin. He barked sternly that he had finally found the good lad. Clearly, he was here to settle the score. Song Qin, fueled by alcohol, slammed the table and pointed at the old man. Zhu Fang joined in the cursing, saying the old man was crazy to hit someone and then come looking for them. The old man snorted coldly. He told his bodyguard, Wang Long, to remember this woman for a later slapping, and ordered Song Qin to kneel, apologize, and slap himself 100 times. Li Jie stood up and frowned, saying there was no need to be so aggressive. He tried to use his own identity to settle this sudden storm. The female classmates were laughing, thinking Li Jie's uncle had them covered. They felt the outsider could not possibly stir up trouble on Li Jie's turf. Zhu Fang glanced at me, mocking me for being a coward who did not dare stand up. I, however, grabbed a handful of melon seeds and watched the show with interest. I admitted I was afraid of death, but kept cracking seeds nonetheless. Looking at that martial artist bodyguard, I felt another good scene was coming. Wang Long's gaze swept over everyone, but he only frowned at me, because he could not see through this young man who had no cultivation, yet watched the show with such total composure. To show off in front of Yuan Tang, Li Jie announced his background, saying he was Li Jie of the Donghai Li family. He thought it would be settled with a single sentence, but something unexpected happened. I continued cracking melon seeds and sipping my beer, savoring the farce unfolding before my eyes. Li Jie, full of himself, threw around the name of the Donghai Li family, with a smug smile plastered across his face. He tried to settle the grudge by inviting them for a cup of tea. Wang Long was not buying any of it. He raised his hand and sent a fierce slap crashing across Li Jie's face. Who do you think you are to ask for face? Li Jie laughed in a fit of rage, yet found himself utterly helpless. He could only pull out his phone and call his uncle, vowing to make these people pay for what they had done. Still cracking seeds, I even started a conversation with Yuan Tang. Dear, which of these two groups do you think will win? The sound of my seeds cracking made Yuan Tang's heart skip a beat in fear. She hastily gave me a sharp pinch on the arm, signaling me to stop stirring up more trouble. Li Jingnan rushed to the booth in a panicked sweat, seeing his nephew's face beaten into a swollen mess. The fury in his heart erupted instantly. Just as he was about to lash out, his eyes fell upon Wang Long and the old man. His body turned rigid in an instant. He stood frozen on the spot, lost in sheer disbelief. With bloodshot eyes, Li Jie looked up at his arriving uncle, expecting this elder to use thunderous means to punish the opponent. Facing his nephew's expectant gaze, Li Jingnan felt his legs go weak. Trembling, he called out to the old man, "Master, what are you doing here?" He quickly realized his nephew had offended the boss's VIP. He cursed these brats in his heart for being so suicidal. In an instant, he dropped to his knees on the floor. Jiang Laobie ignored the kneeling Li Jingnan, instead turning his gaze toward Li Jie. Against a martial artist of this level, I could not even find interest. Li Jie knew his every word concerned the survival of his family. Without hesitation, he demanded Song Qin kneel and apologize, and ordered Zhu Fang to slap herself 100 times. Seeing this scene, I directly burst out laughing. As everyone's gaze shifted to me, I put on an innocent face. I am just a spectator. Please, carry on and ignore me. Jiang Laobie stared at me with a cold, hollow smile. You brat, You actually dare to laugh out loud. Are you deliberately challenging my authority? Ruan Tang knew well how ruthless and tyrannical the eighth master was. Terrified to the core, she hurriedly bowed in apology, explaining that I absolutely had no intention of provoking him. Jiang Laobie scrutinized Ruan Tang and suddenly laughed. For the sake of this woman, if you apologize, I won't make things difficult for them. To settle the matter, Ruan Tang nodded repeatedly. She anxiously urged me at her side. Hurry and bow your head to apologize to this great man. I stood my ground with my hands behind my back. My eyes revealed an arrogance that looked down upon the world. I said indifferently, he is not worthy. The booth fell into a deathly silence once again. Everyone doubted their own ears. They could not believe someone dared to speak to eighth master like that. The smile on Jiang Laobie's face gradually vanished. Wang Long, give this ignorant boy a lesson he will never forget. Ruan Tang and Su Yaoyao were frantic with worry. They begged me to back down and yield, fearing I would truly lose my life here. My eyes were as deep and vast as the starry river. In a flat tone I stated, it should be him begging me for mercy instead. Li Jie burst into laughter upon hearing this. He thought it was the biggest joke of the year, convinced that I was merely seeking my own death. Jiang Laobie laughed out of extreme anger. I have seen many big talkers. They all ended up nailed to a wall. Wang Long, do not hold back. Kill him. I will take the fall. Wang Long's eyes, sharp as an eagle's, locked onto me. With a roar, he charged like a mad bull, shattering the table. Ruan Tang cried out in terror at the horrifying momentum. She closed her eyes in despair, unable to watch the bloody end. I stood still, not moving a single inch. The aura that suddenly erupted from my body sent Wang Long flying, embedding him deep into the wall. It took half a minute for Wang Long to crawl out of the crater. He pointed at me with a face full of horror. He tried to speak, but collapsed into unconsciousness immediately. I shook my head, not bothering to explain I was an immortal. I have absolutely no interest in martial artists of this caliber. Song Qin, Zhu Fang, and the others stared at each other. They could not fathom how a loser like me could possibly defeat eighth master's top enforcer. Li Jie's pupils shrank as he made a bold guess. He thought eighth master ordered the guard to fake a loss, just to find an excuse to wipe me out completely. Jiang Laobie maintained a fake smile, praising me as not bad. Inside, however, he was panicking wildly. His hand instinctively reached for the weapon at his waist. Su Dai rushed into the booth at that moment, looking tense. She sighed in relief seeing I had not started a bloodbath. Abandoning her plan to greet me formally, she turned and whispered a warning to Jiang Laobie. I raised an eyebrow, recognizing the woman. It was Su Dai, whom I had met at the Yi family villa. I did not expect her to be the owner of this tea house. Jiang Laobie gasped upon hearing the Yi family's fate. Only then did he realize the young man before him was a terrifying existence capable of eradicating a great clan. To please the eighth master and Xiao Su, Li Jie shouted for Xiao Su to uphold justice. He gloated internally, thinking he could kill 3 birds with one stone. Jiang Laobie's facial muscles twitched in pure terror. He cursed Li Jie for being a fool who wanted to get him killed. He wished he could tear the man apart on the spot. Su Dai asked about Li Jie's identity with a smile. After receiving confirmation, she fired Li Jingnan and ordered him to leave with his nephew. Li Jingnan was completely stunned. Once he snapped out of it, he slapped his nephew hard, cursing the fool for making him lose his job. As guards dragged him away, Li Jie still yelled it was for the master. Jiang Laobie's face darkened as he sentenced him to death in his heart. Su Dai elegantly clapped her hands to clear the room. She softly apologized to the other guests, announcing that the tea house would be closed for the day. Song Qin and Zhu Fang were already scared out of their wits. Hearing they could leave, they fled the booth in a frantic, joy-filled scramble for survival. I was about to leave when Su Dai called out to me. Ruan Tang grabbed my arm in worry, telling me to run. She stomped her foot, certain that I was in for a beating. I gently stroked her hair, calming her and telling her to wait for me at the entrance. Then, my figure disappeared behind the closing doors of the tea house. After being tossed out, Li Jie stayed waiting at the gate. He gloated, confidently predicting that I was currently being tortured to death by eighth master. Ruan Tang bit her lip, looking at the tea house with deep anxiety. Though she felt uncertain, she still held her ground and retorted that I would be fine. Inside, Jiang Laobie was kneeling before me, trembling. All of his previous arrogance had vanished. He humbly begged for my forgiveness. I looked at the kneeling Jiang Laobie with a calm face. 10 minutes passed before I slowly uttered, "It is fine." Su Dai apologized to me with a respectful expression, explaining that her main purpose in coming to Donghai was specifically to recruit a master like myself. I looked at this woman who feared ghosts with a half-smile. I told her to speak her mind directly, and to stop with the roundabout schemes. Su Dai offered a staggering 30 million yuan a year to hire me as a consecrated master for the Su family. I would only need to help in times of family crisis. Jiang Laobei gasped at the mention of the sum. He did not expect the Su family would pay such a price, just to recruit me into their ranks. I remained indifferent to the massive fortune. Instead, I was more concerned whether this money could be transferred to my wife as an investment. Su Dai immediately understood and agreed, promising to pay in installments without Ruan Tang ever knowing. I emphasize once more, it is only natural to work for pay. But 30 million only buys own intervention from me. Think carefully before you make your decision. Su Dai agreed without a moment's hesitation. Then she tentatively inquired of me, asking if I needed a job to provide a cover for my identity. I specified the job should not be too busy, preferably 9 to 5. After all, I need to make time to care for my daughter in kindergarten. Su Dai had a sudden flash of inspiration. She suggested I become the school doctor at Su family's elite university. This would provide a relaxed role and a respectable identity. My eyes lit up at the mention of the word university. I immediately envisioned a perfect plan for when my daughter attends, ensuring she won't have to fear any punks or delinquents. Su Dai looked at my gentle, fatherly smile. Though she did not quite understand, she respectfully arranged everything. When I stepped out of the tea house, Li Jie was utterly dumbfounded. He demanded to know why the 8th master had spared this man. A loser who should have surely been dead by now. Seeing me ignore young Master Li, Zhu Fang jumped out. She accused me of lacking manners and etiquette, forgetting how pathetic she looked kneeling and slapping herself earlier. I mocked them for having knelt so long they forgot how to stand. Better to become someone else's pillar than to curry favor with others. To save face, Song Qin forced a desperate explanation, claiming Hou Su spared them only for the sake of his uncle Li, though Li Jie felt something was off. He had no choice but to accept this explanation. Before leaving, he pointed at me, claiming I owed him a life. Ruan Tang drove the BMW, carrying me away from the scene. From the back seat, Su Yaoyao's sharp eyes spotted something. The supreme black card that Su Dai had given to me. I explained honestly that Su Dai hired me as a martial consecrate, but Ruan Tang frowned, dismissing it as a blatant lie. She told me there was no need to fabricate such stories. Su Yaoyao's imagination ran wild as she cried out, "Do you and Su Dai have some sort of scandalous secret?" The shock made Ruan Tang slam on the brakes instantly. I glared back, retorting that Yao Yao was slandering my innocence. I emphasized that my relationship with Su Dai was purely professional. Ruan Tang silently released the brakes and continued driving, though a ripple of emotion stirred in her heart. She claimed we were only a couple in name and would not interfere. After returning to the office, I continued to explain to Ruan Tang, "Wife, do not misunderstand. There really is nothing between us." It seemed the road to mending our relationship would be long. Ruan Tang was very surprised to learn I would be a doctor at Dongli University. She mentioned that her younger sister, Ruan Lan, studied there too. As I listened to Ruan Tang recount the past, how she was cast out for giving birth to me, an uncontrollable rage began to surge within my heart. Standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, Ruan Tang looked so lonely. She mocked herself for having lost everything, only wishing for her daughter to have a complete home. Standing beside her, I made a solemn promise. I will ensure you take back every single thing you lost. Every item, without exception, shall be returned to your hands. Ruan Tang rolled her eyes, telling me not to get too into character. Though her words were tough, deep down, she still yearned to reclaim her stolen dignity. Suddenly, the secretary ran in, looking frantic and panicked, reporting the chairman of Huasheng, the fashion giant, was here. Ruan Tang was stunned by the news. She could not fathom why a titan like Huasheng would ever seek out her tiny, struggling company. A slight curl appeared at my lips, a smile of hidden merit. I thought to myself, Su Dai truly works with incredible efficiency. The meeting lasted for a full hour. After Ruan Tang saw the Huasheng chairman off, a smile bloomed on her usually icy, beautiful face. I keenly captured that fleeting, precious smile. I asked her with a grin if the talks went smoothly. Ruan Tang let out a sigh of immense relief, stating the funding was solved and the company had a new life. She then gathered the staff to arrange the upcoming work. Seeing her busy, I did not ask further questions. I left the company alone to pick up my daughter from kindergarten. Su Dai was already waiting at the kindergarten gate. She stepped out and handed me a folder personally. I opened the folder, finding the Dongley University offer and a new phone and SIM card. Su Dai took out a small pink hair clip. Smiling, she said it was a gift bought specifically for E. She was confident that E would like it. I accepted the gift, giving her a deep, searching look. I praised her for being both thoughtful and clever in her work. Su Dai beamed with a radiant smile, knowing she had made the right move with this gesture. She then made an excuse to take her leave first. Finally, the school bell rang for dismissal. Sui came charging toward me at full speed. She happily gave me a big, moist kiss. She looked around, searching for her mother's figure. I explained that mommy was busy earning money at the company to provide for both daddy and Qian Xiao stood nearby, patting his chest proudly, boasting he would chased away a boy who tried to bully Yi. Watching Qian Xiao's face, practically begging for praise, I felt this kid's thick skin promised a bright future. I pulled out the prepared cloud cotton candy and handed it to him. Qian Xiao devoured the candy in just a few bites. His eyes sparkled as he shouted how delicious it was. I put the new hair clip on, then took my daughter's hand to walk home, quietly enjoying our warm father-daughter time together. Back at home, Su-yi clung to my arm. Acting spoiled, she said, "Daddy, I am hungry." I went into the kitchen and searched my storage space, finally selecting a fish whose scales shimmered with starlight. "Daddy will make a fried starfish for you to taste." Su-yi stood on her tiptoes, looking at the beautiful fish. Her large eyes were filled with curiosity and wonder. "Yay, I love everything Daddy cooks." Ruan Tang returned home at 9 in the evening. Seeing me on the sofa, she asked where he was. I pointed to the meal I had left for her on the table. He just finished eating until she was full. I have already coaxed her to sleep. Ruan Tang washed her hands and began to feast heartily. She was shocked to find the fish crispy outside and tender inside. A sudden thought popped into her mind. Maybe being married to me would not be so bad after all. Ruan Tang immediately slapped her own face hard, warning herself not to be bought over by a single meal. This man had been missing for several years, after all. For the next 3 days, I became a full-time stay-at-home dad, dropping off and picking up E, and handling all the cooking. Though Ruan Tang kept shouting about needing a diet, she ate more than anyone whenever I served my delicacies. On September 10th, I went to report at Dongley University, officially beginning my career as a school doctor. Su Dai personally showed me the campus and met the principal, indicating I was only there to experience life, telling him to just turn a blind eye to my activities. The principal understood perfectly, wearing a knowing look. He then led me to the clinic to introduce me to colleagues. Thinking it would be a simple life of slacking off at work, an unexpected scene suddenly took place. Su Dai arranged a relaxed position for me. I followed the principal to the school's medical clinic. Zhou Feng had assumed the director position would be his. Seeing someone jump the line, his expression turned hostile. He chased the principal for answers in vain, then slammed the door. Lu Nanwei gave me a cold warning. Zhou Feng has a good background and always saw himself as director. He took his spot, she said. Better watch your back. I shook my head with a bitter smile. I am only here to pass the time. I have no interest in being a director at all. I did not expect the future work atmosphere to be so grim. Zhao Cixi pushed open the door while clutching her stomach. She whispered that she was a freshman with an upset stomach. In truth, she was plotting how to fake illness to skip military drill. Lu Nanwei took Zhao Cixi's pulse. She told her indifferently that it was nothing serious. Just go back, rest well, and drink more hot water. I saw through the girl's act of faking illness at a glance. Facing Zhao Cixi's pitiful gaze, I could only nod in agreement. Yes, drink more hot water. After the student left, Lu Nanwei remarked flatly that it was likely a student dodging drill. She then focused back on her medical journals. I sat in the office chair and closed my eyes for a nap, pondering whether to visit my sister-in-law, Ruan Lan. I asked Lu Nanwei if she knew her. Hearing me ask about the campus belle, Ruan Lan, she assumed I used connections to enter the clinic just to chase girls. She coldly refused to answer. I was unaware of my colleague's misunderstanding. At 5 of the clock sharp, I got ready to leave. After assigning Zhou Feng to the night shift, I prepared to go pick up my daughter. Lu Nanwei called Zhou Feng to notify him of the shift. She heard the sound of a bottle smashing on the other end. He roared, asking who I thought I was to assign him work. Hearing Zhou Feng's attitude, I was not even angry. I simply stated I had to pick up my daughter and cook. Then I left the school clinic. Lu Nanwei looked at my back with even more disgust. thinking I was a family man still flirting around on campus. She decided to report the situation to the logistics department. I took the bus back to the Baiyun district. The moment I opened the door, I heard my daughter's laughter. Inside, I saw my sister-in-law, Ruanlan, playing with E. When Ruanlan saw me return, the smile on her face instantly turned into anger. She snorted, "The heartless man is back." Her attitude was exceptionally hostile. Ruan Tang emerged from the kitchen with charred tomato and eggs. She kept a stern face, telling her sister to have a better attitude. "That is your brother-in-law, after all." Ruanlan turned her head away in a huff. She vowed not to call me that and said she was going back to school. Clearly, she held a deep-seated prejudice against me. Ruan Tang frowned, urging her sister to eat before leaving. After all, the food was already prepared. Besides, her sister had lingered at the gate for a long time before entering. Ruanlan stared at the bowl of burnt tomato and eggs. After hesitating, she suggested eating out instead, fearing her sister might blow up the kitchen like last time. I was shooed into the kitchen by Ruan Tang to cook. I gave a meaningful glance toward Ruanlan, who had just roasted her sister's cooking, and got to work. In the living room, Ruanlan teased E, praising her niece for surely being a great beauty in the future. She was overjoyed when E complimented her beauty in return. Ruan Tang poured a glass of water for her sister, exposing her habit of rubbing her nose when she lies. She asked if she would come here because she was treated unfairly. Suppressing the bitterness in her heart, Ruanlan forced a smile and said she just came to see them. She did not tell her sister the real reason. Ruan Tang saw she did not want to talk and did not push. The two sisters chatted about family matters. Ruanlan could not help but ask why she would gotten engaged to me. Sui chimed in innocently from the side, saying mommy and daddy were very much in love. She even asked if mommy liked daddy the most. Her little eyes were full of expectation, facing her daughter's watery, expectant eyes. Ruan Tang gritted her teeth and admitted she liked daddy. Internally, she was nervous due to her sister's sharp intuition. I finished a lavish spread of 6 dishes and a soup. The aroma instantly filled the entire dining room. Ruanlan still mocked my cooking as a trick to fool girls, but her body was honest. She put a piece of braised pork in her mouth. Ruan Tang asked if the food was to her sister's taste. Ruanlan devoured half a plate of braised pork like a whirlwind. She then finished 3 whole bowls of rice. Looking at my ravenous sister-in-law, I asked with a smile how it tasted. I only received a comment that it was about the same as the canteen. Sui stared at Ruanlan with wide eyes. "Auntie," she said innocently, "you can really eat a lot. He wants to work hard to eat as much as Auntie." Ruanlan collapsed, teaching her niece never to praise a woman's appetite. Then Ruan Tang mentioned my job as a doctor at Dongli University. I realized Zhao Cici's fake illness was Ruanlan's idea. So, I told Ruanlan to go back and tell Zhao Cici, "Remember to drink more hot water." Ruanlan's head felt like it would explode with rage. So the school doctor who rejected Cici's leave request was me. After dinner, Ruan Tang and I walked Ruanlan to the subway. On the way back, Ruan Tang worried her sister. "Might have noticed we are only a couple in name." Sui suddenly stopped walking. She looked at an old beggar kneeling by the roadside. She spoke up to me, "Daddy, I want some change. I want to help that old man." I saw at a glance that the old man was terminally ill. I let my daughter go and give him the money, but then I stopped her from giving to the fake cripples ahead. Though Ruan Tang did not believe I could diagnose just by looking, she still cooperated and gave the money. She asked curiously why I taught the child such things. I explained seriously, because Yi's future status will be extraordinary. She must learn to distinguish good from evil, knowing who to help and who to ignore. Jiang Tingyun lay on a chair in the Jiang estate in Yanjing, asking his men if they found who killed the Yi family. The men knelt on the floor, trembling in fear, promising to find the truth and bring back the killer in 3 days. They also mentioned they were searching for top-grade jade. Jiang Tingyun deduced that Yi Wuxuan's rapid progress was due to absorbing the blood of infants. A demonic light flickered in his eyes. He craved that kind of power for himself. The next morning, Qian Shao waited at the kindergarten gate. Seeing Sui, he ran over excitedly to carry her backpack, looking exactly like a little devoted lackey. I was left speechless at the sight. I barked at him to go inside and read books, not to waste time at the entrance. When I arrived at the medical clinic, Zhou Feng stared at me with a dark, brooding face. He would tried many people but could not get me removed. He was harboring a belly full of rage. I paid no attention to Zhou Feng's provocations. Being ignored made him feel like he was punching cotton. He grew even more frustrated. Lu Nanwei only appeared when the shift changed. Just as she sat down, a boy ran in frantically, saying a friend had a heart attack on the ball court. Hearing the history of heart disease and intense exercise, Zhou Feng cursed, "Is he out of his mind?" But he still got up immediately to go save him. Lu Nanwei grabbed the emergency kit and rushed out. She quickly ordered the onlookers to move aside, quickly checking the condition of the fallen boy. I followed them to the ball court. I saw the boy's lips were purple and his pupils dilated. Clearly, the situation was extremely critical. But I was pushed aside by my colleagues. Zhou Feng roared while dispersing the crowd. He began performing CPR. He and Lu Nanwei tacitly ignored me, the connected hire. There was no professional equipment here. Heart disease was already a major problem, especially an acute attack like this. Their expressions grew increasingly grim. Dr. Li Shouzhong arrived at that moment. He performed more first aid, but there was still no effect. The faces of the three grew more and more solemn. I, who had been ignored all along, crouched down. My divine sense delved into the boy's body. Then, something completely unexpected happened. Su Lai, this is a matter of life and death. There is no room for your antics here. Step aside immediately. I am saving a life, not joking. The problem in your eyes is, to me, nothing more than a trifle requiring a sliver of spiritual energy. Ridiculous, you are just a crony who parachuted into the clinic through connections. Do you truly think you are a legendary healer reborn? Move aside now. Do not waste my time. Lu Nanwei knit her brows in frustration. Director Su, this is no time for jokes. The patient's condition is critical. Please, stop causing trouble here. I shook my head. I am not joking. If he dies in my hands, I will take full responsibility. But the truth is, under your rescue, he is already dead. Zhou Feng's face turned livid upon hearing my words. How dare you say such a thing? If he truly dies in your hands, can you actually shoulder that responsibility? I am not mocking you. After all, dear. And this Dr. Li have already done your absolute best. Now, please leave the rest to me. Li Shouzhong looked up, gasping for breath. He looked at the young man in disbelief. Are you certain? This student has already suffered cardiac arrest. I nodded. It is merely cardiac arrest. Using spiritual energy to jumpstart a heart is a very simple task for me. Zhou Feng laughed. Truly hilarious. A patient 3 professional doctors could not bring back. And you claim 100% chance of saving him. Zhou Feng suddenly had a realization. I see, you are afraid of being held accountable by the school later. So you are putting on a deliberate act right now, just to shift the blame away from yourself. I grew a bit impatient with the repeated interruptions. Your failure to save him is due to your poor medical skills. Do not project your limits onto others. The surrounding students grew agitated and began to denounce me. Does he take us for fools? Claiming a single touch is a rescue. This is pure madness. A patient CPR could not bring back after nearly half an hour. I forcibly pushed Li Shouzhong and the other 2 aside. I pressed a single finger against the patient's chest, injecting a stream of spiritual energy within. From the moment I acted to the moment I stood up, less than 3 seconds passed. My daughter's school is letting out. I am leaving. You can handle the follow-up. Having said that, I walked away from the crowd. The students stared at my retreating back. The field fell silent for a moment, followed by even more furious rebukes. Director Li was saving lives while you were hiding in some corner. Director Li was saving lives while you were hiding in some corner, you fraud. Director Li was saving lives while you were hiding in some corner. Li Shouzhong's expression turned cold to the extreme. If a real doctor wanted to try a last-ditch rescue, he would have no complaints even if it failed. Lu Nanwei was the closest to the patient. At this moment, she remained silent. Suddenly, her brows twitched and she blinked hard. She thought she just saw the patient's finger move. Lu Nanwei suspected it was a hallucination, but a second later, the finger moved again. Furthermore, the patient's chest began to heave. He was breathing. The boy had actually come back to life. Li Shouzhong's eyes widened as he stared at the patient. Seeing the boy open his eyes with a dazed look, a wave of sheer shock surged through his heart like a tide. Zhou Feng let out a scoffing laugh. Lu, stop joking around. The person has completely stopped breathing. Even Director Li was helpless. How could he possibly come back to life? Lu Nanwei stomped her foot in frustration. She gently patted the patient's face on the ground. She asked loudly, "Student, can you hear me?" Zhou Feng turned around in confusion. He saw the patient, who had no breath a moment ago, not only opening his eyes but sitting up on his own. As he turned into a zombie, Li Shouzhong was incredibly excited. He barked at Zhou Feng, "You are a doctor. Please believe in science. This is respect for the patient and the medical path. This is a miracle. Zhou Feng was bewildered, leaping 3 meters back in fright. When was I ever disrespectful? Clearly, it was Su Lai who was being disrespectful. What on earth is going on? Li Shouzhong marveled at the sight. This is quite literally a medical miracle. The patient who could not be resuscitated even after nearly half an hour of CPR was saved with a single finger. Li Shouzhong wished he could discuss this with me for 3 days and nights. He grabbed Zhou Feng's arm and asked urgently, "What is your director's phone number?" Zhou Feng saw Director Li staring at him with bloodshot eyes. He backed away repeatedly in fear. I do not know. I did not save that Su Lai's number." Facing Director Li's inquiry, Lu Nanwei also shook her head, saying she had not saved it. This whole matter was simply too shocking. The ambulance arrived late. The person was already fine. The students dispersed while discussing the event. Who knew the school clinic held such a great master? I knew it all along. This director is a divine healer. The students marveled one after another. To tell you the truth, the band-aid I got at the clinic yesterday was given to me by him. This morning, the wound was completely healed. I arrived at the kindergarten and found my daughter in Ruan Tang's car. My lady wife held the steering wheel, her brows slightly knit. She seemed to be lost in thought. I sat in the passenger seat and buckled my seatbelt. I asked with concern, "Did something happen at the company? You look like you have something on your mind." Ruan Tang shook her head. "It is nothing. Let us go home." Her mind was actually a mess, but she did not want me to know. She could only force herself to hide the sorrow in her eyes. Sui leaned forward and whispered, "Daddy, I think Grandma just called on the phone, but Mommy won't let me tell you." She even glared at me. I looked helplessly at my wife. "Why bully our daughter? Is my mother-in-law all right? You and your sister are alike. You both love keeping secrets." Ruan Tang hesitated for a long time before biting her lip. "My parents have come to Donghai City. They want to meet with us. In truth, I feel quite uncertain about this." I said casually, "Then let us meet. I happen to want to meet my parents-in-law as well. After all, they are your parents. And Yi should eventually meet her grandparents, right?" Ruan Tang let out a self-deprecating laugh. How could things be so simple? Since being kicked out of the Ruan family 5 years ago, we have not been in contact for a long time. Let me think about it some more. Su Yi ate her fill at dinner. She lay on the sofa with her mother, drinking black tea. "Daddy, come quickly and watch TV with us." I was washing dishes in the kitchen and replied, "Coming right now." Though Ruan Tang was unwilling to admit it, my cooking was indeed excellent, and I had taken over all the household chores. Ruan Tang watched me busy myself and sighed inwardly. Such a life was something she never dared to hope for before. Since I moved in, there had been only benefits and no drawbacks. I sat at the other end of the sofa, as if seeing through Ruan Tang's thoughts. I spoke with a grin. "Do you find having me around wonderful? My lady wife is truly a tsundere." Ruan Tang kept a straight face. "You are overthinking it." However, looking at her daughter's happy laughter, I also decided to go meet her parents tomorrow morning. On the road this Thursday, Chen Xiao exclaimed in surprise, "Sister, Uncle Su said the swirly lines on the cloud candy are gifts from the lightning." Su Yi gave a massive roll of her eyes. "Look at you, acting like you have never seen the world. Though the storm cloud candy does taste better than the white ones." Chen Xiao chuckled. "There is always candy when following Uncle Su. Now I feel as if my body is drifting on the clouds. The taste of this cotton candy is simply too good to make a good impression on her parents." Ruan Tang took me to a barbershop and specialty stores. "This set, that set, and this own, wrap them all up. Go and try them on." I looked at the price tag of nearly 5,000 for a pair of pants and gasped. Usually I dress very casually. Putting on formal wear now feels quite unfamiliar. Ruan Tang was stunned when she saw me come out in the new clothes. That deep, profound aura could not be faked. Own glance, and it felt as if Own would be pulled into its depths. I leaned into Ruan Tang's ear and whispered, "Is your heart fluttering?" Watching her push me away in a panic, I thought to myself that my wife is sometimes truly adorable. Ruan Tang nervously cautioned me with a worried look. "Do not say anything reckless when you meet my parents later. And whatever you do not let our secret relationship slip." I looked at Ruan Tang and gave her a small smile. "Do not worry, honey. Leave everything to me." Ruan Tang pushed open the booth door and gasped in shock. "Uncle, Aunt, why is it you? Where are my parents? Was not it supposed to be my parents who wanted to see me?" Ruan Qingshan set down his teacup. He let out a heavy, cold snort. "What, are you disappointed to see us?" Song, are you scrutinized me thoroughly from head to toe. she said indifferently. Both of you, sit down first. So, you are Su Lai. First, tell us about your family background and your profession. I answered truthfully, an ordinary family, currently working as a school doctor. Upon hearing those two things, the aunt did not look disappointed. Instead, a faint smile played at the corners of her mouth. Song Aryu took a sip of tea and spoke as if to herself. I know that girl Ruan Lan went to see you yesterday. She must have told you she is about to be betrothed to the Fong family. Ruan Tang asked anxiously. Fong Cheng was in a car accident years ago and is in a vegetative state. He can't even wake up. Why did my parents agree to this marriage? Song Aryu barked sternly. Shut up. Young Master Fong is only in a temporary coma. He will surely wake. Marrying into the Fong family is Ruan Lan's blessing. Why would not they agree? Ruan Qingshan spoke up as well. That is right. The Fong family promised that after the engagement, they will help the Ruan family enter real estate for a share of the market. This is for the sake of the family's interests. Ruan Tang's beautiful face turned icy with anger. Another business marriage. I do not agree to this match. The Fong family is clearly humiliating my sister. This is simply going too far. A glint of greed flashed in Song Ru's eyes. I heard you recently signed a major contract with Huasheng. I believe you should transfer your company to the Ruan family for free. Ruan Tang suppressed her rage and asked coldly. You kicked me out of the house 5 years ago, and now you want to seize my company. Is this grandpa's decision, or yours? Song Aryu spoke with fake sincerity. It is my decision, but this is all for your own good. Now that you have a child, your focus should be on the family. My son is more than capable of managing the company. Ruan Tang was so angry she was speechless. And, please speak with a clear conscience. Are you really doing all this for my own good? What a line, for my own good, how shameless. I, who had been silent, suddenly laughed. The smile was chilling. Since you are her blood aunt, why are you selling Ruan Lan to the Fong family? Ruan Qingshan slammed the table and said in a harsh voice. Ruan Tang, is this the ignorant trash you found? Speaking with such sarcasm and insolence, the Ruan family's affairs do not need an outsider's interference. My gaze swept over them with icy coldness. Watching Ruan Qingshan's horrified expression, I said, the two of you actively contacted the Fangs to broker this marriage. Quite a clever calculation. Having her motives exposed, Song Aryu turned from shame to rage. She pointed at me and said with disgust, Qingshan, do not waste words with this fellow. You, get out, we do not need an outsider meddling here. Ruan Tang's expression was frozen like ice. She said word for word, he is not trash. Nor is he an outsider. He is my fiancé Su Lai. Ruan Tang continued, I will not transfer the company. And I will never let my sister marry Fong Cheng. Ruan Qingshan shouted angrily, fine, you ungrateful wolf. The Ruan family raised you for all these years. And you can't even part with a single company. Song Aryu added coldly. Ruan Tang, I did not expect you to be so unappreciative. You have truly disappointed me. Ruan Lan's marriage to the Fangs is already set in stone, and you must sign the company transfer agreement. Ruan Tang felt sickened. She stood up and grabbed my hand to leave. Sulai, let us go. Staying on more second makes me nauseous. Song Aryu suddenly spoke up. Your little brat's name is Su Yi, is not it? Xinghe Kindergarten lets out at 5:30 in the afternoon. Ruan Tang whirled around. Staring intensely at Song Aryu, she demanded, what do you mean? What are you trying to do to my daughter? Song Aryu said casually, the streets are narrow and crowded with cars. It is easy for a little accident to happen. The possibility of a mishap is not small, is it? I have heard many children have gone missing lately. Ruan Qingshan said with a jovial smile. Indeed. Niece, you better keep a close eye on the child. Do not give bad people a chance to strike. Ruan Tang was trembling with pure rage. She pointed at these two shameless elders and cursed. How can people like you even call yourselves family? Ruan Tang, what are you saying? Your uncle is doing all this for your own sake. Why do not you reconsider the matter of the contract? After all, the child's safety is what matters most. Ruan Tang gritted her teeth hard. I will sign, but you are not to touch a hair on Yi's head. Otherwise, I will haunt you even as a ghost. Ruan Qingshan and Song Aryu exchanged a glance. Triumphant smiles appeared on their faces. Sure enough, Ruan Tang's weakness was her daughter. I gave Song Aryu and her husband a long, deep look. I hope you won't regret this. And do not come begging to return the company to Ruan Tang. Song Aryu snorted with utter contempt. She thought to herself, once something is in my pocket, who would be foolish enough to take it back out? After leaving the tea house, Ruan Tang sat in the car, her shoulders shaking. She looked utterly helpless and fragile. I hesitated for a moment, then gently patted her back. Go ahead, Crut. You will feel better once it is out, Ruan Tang said through her sobs. Su Lai, I am so scared. I am so afraid something will happen to Yi. I can't give her a complete home, and I can't even guarantee her safety. I am so useless. I said softly, wife, do not worry. No one can harm thee, and no one can snatch a single cent from our family. They will spit it all back out with interest. Please, believe in me. Ruan Tang kept wiping her tears. Stop talking nonsense. I only hope my daughter can grow up safe and sound. I am sorry, I lost my composure. Can you leave me alone for a moment? I nodded and stepped out, choosing to give Ruan Tang some space. Alright, take some time for yourself. I will be waiting for you outside. Standing by the roadside, I took out my phone and called Su Dai. I need you to do something for me. Su Dai's respectful voice quickly came through. Mr. Su, please tell me. I will surely get it done. She had already made up her mind. No matter how difficult my request was, she would do her utmost. After stating my plan, I hung up the phone. I sneered in my heart. You want my wife's company, but whether your son can afford to keep it, that depends on whether he has the life to spare. Meanwhile, Wang Jin sat in the CEO's office. From now on, this company is mine. He scrutinized the secretary standing nearby with a sour expression. His smile was full of immense satisfaction. Wang Jin thought that while Ruan Tang's company was not huge, with that Huashang contract, the annual profit would be at least 30 million. Wang Jin tilted his chin up and looked at the secretary. Compile the files of all unmarried, single, and female employees under the age of 25. Do not forget to include your own profile. Just then, Wang Jin heard a knock on the office door. He shouted impatiently, who is it? Can't you see I am busy? An employee reported from outside, the chairman of Huashang is here. He says there is something important to discuss. After Ruan Tang returned home, she sat in her chair staring blankly. She was someone always used to being busy. The sudden idleness made her feel uncomfortable. I sat down beside her and peeled an apple for my lady wife. Ruan Tang took a look and shook her head. She had no appetite right now. On the other side, Ruan Qingshan was frantically calling Ruan Tang. As soon as the call connected, he spoke in a domineering tone. Ruan Tang, I am your uncle. You come to the office to work immediately. Just now, the chairman of Huashang specifically asked for Ruan Tang. He said only she can be in charge of this project. If the person is changed, they must pay a massive termination fee. Ruan Tang hung up the phone directly with an icy face. She thought, you stole my company and still want me to work for free. In your dreams. Ruan Qingshan was cursing loudly at the company. Her wings have grown. She actually dares to hang up on me. Fine. Keep using your phone to call her. I turned off Ruan Tang's phone directly. All you need to do now is get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow morning, Ruan Qingshan will come begging you to return. When that happens, just claim you are ill and stay home. Ruan Tang was in low spirits. 5 years of her hard work had been snatched away just like that. Her heart was aching with immense pain. I thought to myself in secret, I could have used brute force to make the Ruan family submit, but that would be too boring. I want them to feel true despair. Ruan Lan learned that her sister's company had been seized. She could not get through to her sister on the phone. Out of worry, she rushed over to the apartment. Ruan Tang gave her sister a sharp, stern look. Your marriage. I do not agree to it. The Ruan family is clearly using your happiness as a bargaining chip. Ruan Lan lowered her head, pretending to be nonchalant. Sis, it does not matter who I marry. I have accepted it. This is the helplessness of being born into a great clan. Su Yi clung to Ruan Lan's arm and said softly, Auntie, why do not you marry someone you love? He does not want Auntie to be sad. Su Yi looked at me expectantly. Daddy, please help Auntie. Daddy is the most powerful person in the world. Print. He is right. I am going to Hang City tomorrow to pay a visit to this Fong family. The next day, I held my daughter's hand to take her to kindergarten. I noticed a black Mercedes-Benz parked downstairs. Ruan Qingshan sat in the car with a cold, gloomy expression. That woman Ruan Tang actually dares to ignore my calls. Seeing me, Ruan Qingshan put on an air of high authority. Tell Ruan Tang to come out and see me. I said indifferently, she is ill and needs rest. Please leave. Do not disturb her here. Song Ru's eyes flashed with fury. She was fine yesterday, and now she is suddenly sick today. Who are you trying to fool? Tell her to come out right this instant. Song Ru continued her tirade. We have already condescended to come to this shabby neighborhood. And yet she puts on airs. Who does she think she is? I stopped paying attention to the three of them. I took my daughter's hand and began to walk away. Let us go. He let us go to school. Fuming with rage, Ruan Jin stepped out of the car and looked at me. Kid, did not you hear what my mother said? How dare you ignore us? Ruan Jin's gaze was freezing cold. He thought to himself that he was the future heir of the Ruan family. To him, I was simply asking for death. Ruan Qingshan said in a deep voice, let us go home. Since she wants to refuse our generosity, do not blame us for being heartless. Song Ryu grew anxious. Why are we going home? If we do not get Ruan Tang back to work, do we really have to pay that 30 million penalty? That is a massive fortune. Ruan Qingshan spoke with a meaningful tone. The Fang family's martial consecrate will arrive in a couple of days. Let Ruan Jin handle the contact. Ruan Jin suddenly understood his father's intent. I understand, father. I will make sure to entertain that master well. Meanwhile, Su Dai respectfully opened the car door for me. Mr. Su, 8th master has already booked a hotel in Hang City to welcome you and celebrate your arrival. I frowned slightly. Do not go to such trouble in the future. I am only here to handle a few matters. There is no need for such a grand display. Su Dai explained. That building over there is the stadium. Hang City holds a half-month-long Jade convention every year. Today is the final day. Jiang Laobei asked with a smile, is Mr. Su interested? Shall we go take a look? It is still early after all. I felt a bit of interest stir. I thought to myself that jade gathers the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Perhaps I could find some useful materials. As we walked, I looked at the stalls with some disappointment. The quality of the jade inside these stones was extremely low. None of it was even worth a glance. Su Dai crouched down and looked for a long time, finally sighing and deciding to give up. She did not know much about stone gambling. I suddenly pointed at 3 stones. The one in the corner, and this one. These 3 are not bad. Though surprised, Su Dai bought all 3. Boss, I want these 3 stones. How much in total? The boss narrowed his eyes and smiled. 3.7 million total. The lady truly has a great eye. These are top-tier materials. The onlookers began to gossip. Forget it, they won't yield anything. Master Fang already looked at this stall. Clearly they are just dross. Su Dai was nervous but still said, boss, cut them for me. No matter what others say, I believe in Mr. As the master cutter began his work, Su Dai felt a surge of joy. I see green, the color is excellent, keep cutting. Old Zhang, the cutter, grew solemn. With each bit of stone removed, the interior of the rock was revealed. The crowd gasped in shock. The screen. It is imperial jade. Heavens, they actually cut out imperial jade. Su Dai said with high spirits, the second one, and the third. Cut them together. It seems my luck is truly good today. The crowd stared intently at the cutting process. As the 3 raw stones gradually revealed their full forms, the eyes of the onlookers were filled with pure envy. Some even tried to buy them on the spot. Though the vendor felt a chill of regret, he still smiled and congratulated Su Dai. Truly, own cut to poverty, own cut to wealth. Su Dai rejected the acquisition offers from the crowd. She asked respectfully, Mr. Do you plan to sell your jade here? I gave Su Dai a deep look. I said to her casually, you paid for them. Naturally, this jade belongs to you. Jiang Laoba's admiration for me was like a surging river. Witnessing me pick out 3 pieces of imperial jade at random. What terrifying insight that required. After asking Su Dai for the location of the Fang family, I smiled and walked ahead, saying, want to play a bigger game with me? Fang, the manager of the Fang family's stall, was shocked to see Jiang Laobie and Su Dai treating a total stranger as their superior. Jiang Laobie had none of his usual authority. He followed half a step behind me with a smile, not daring to overstep in the slightest. Su Dai similarly dared not overstep that seemingly trivial half-step of distance. She smiled at Fang'an. We are here to buy jade, I observed for about 5 seconds, then suddenly stomped my foot, making the ground vibrate. Among the stones sent flying, exactly 37 rolled to my feet. Fang'an looked at me with a solemn expression. He deduced that I was a master, a senior far beyond the reach of a 4th-grade martial artist. I smiled and asked the 2 beside me, if you trust me, pay up. I am gifting you a massive stroke of fortune. Fang'an felt the stones and gave a bitter smile. Senior, these stones have no spiritual energy. You will only lose money if you buy them. I was slightly surprised he could sense spiritual energy. Confirming the purchase, I said indifferently, if you believe it, I am granting you fortune. Su Dai very decisively wrote the check. Though this was a gamble involving the Su family's future, she trusted me unconditionally. Jiang Laobie gritted his teeth and wrote a check for 100 million. This was practically all the liquid capital the Jiang family had. My command to cut was like a tsunami, sending the entire crowd into a frenzy of excited discussion. Fang An personally took the cutting machine. With confusion, he made the first cut, only to find that every single stone was of the highest grade. The crowd went from shock to daze, then to total numbness. Looking at the floor covered in imperial jade and ice-type jade, they were completely dumbfounded. This man's power was terrifyingly profound. Afterward, the three of us were invited to a VIP booth. Fang An now held absolute admiration for my stone viewing skills. Jiang Laobie's grin was nearly stretching from ear to ear. He said excitedly, that 100 million check was worth it. I will make at least 200 million back. Fang Zheng, the head of the Fang family, rushed over upon hearing the news. Seeing me, he immediately clasped his hands, his voice trembling. Greetings, Mr. Fang An's mind suddenly exploded with realization. He finally understood that the person before him was the mysterious master who slaughtered the Yi family's elites. He might even be a martial grandmaster. Breathing heavily with excitement, Fang An dropped to one knee. He shouted loudly, third-grade martial artist of the Fang family. Greetings to the Lord Grandmaster. Fang Zheng's face twitched. He followed suit, kneeling and shouting, Fang Zheng, head of the Fangs. Greetings to the Grandmaster. I started to say something but hesitated. Finally, I said casually, fine. If that is what you think I am, then that is what I will be. I looked at the awestruck Fang Zheng and Fang An and spoke slowly. I need your Fang family to handle a few matters for me. Fang Zheng's tone became eager and hospitable. He asked if there was anywhere the Fang family could assist. He faintly sensed that something fishy was going on. Jiang Laobie let out a mocking laugh and said, you are about to become relatives with Mr. Susum, who would dare to order a great figure like you around. Fang Zheng was utterly confused when he heard his son was to marry the sister of Mr. Su's wife. Cold sweat began to pour down his forehead. Trembling with terror, Fang Zheng wailed, Mr. Su, spare the Fangs. This was all arranged by that scoundrel Ruan Qingshan. I stated helplessly, I am a very reasonable man. Both of you stand up first. Tell me the details of how this marriage came to be. Fang Zheng braced himself and recounted how Ruan Qingshan had taken the initiative to seek an alliance with the Fangs. He declared he would immediately reject the marriage proposal. My eyes lit up upon learning the Ruans had 90 million with the Fangs. Help me freeze that money. In exchange, I will wake your comatose son. Fang Zheng's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. Then, with reddened eyes, he choked out, if my son can wake, I will do anything you ask. Suddenly, I let out a cold sneer. I kicked a chair across the floor, smashing it into the corner, forcing out the assassin who was hiding in the shadows. Tan Chong revealed himself after dodging the chair. He said in surprise, you actually managed to discover me. It seems you truly do have some skill. Fang An broke out in goosebumps from the shock. He realized that if this man had attempted an assassination just now, he would undoubtedly be a dead man by now. Tan Chong said in a raspy voice, interrogate them right here. Tell me exactly what happened that day or die. Facing the dagger Tan Chong hurled toward me, I merely extended 2 fingers. With a crisp sound, I caught and pinched the blade. Fang An saw Tan Chang's figure vanish into thin air. His face turned pale with dread. Such a concealment technique was simply unheard of. Tan Chong prepared to circle behind me to slit my throat, only to find that a foot was already pressing down on his head. I curiously observed the first martial artist on earth who could use qi. Tan Chong roared in exasperation. If you do not move your foot, do not blame me for using my ultimate move. My phantom sting is enough to kill those of a higher rank. Jiang Laobie felt a terrifying pressure spreading through the room. He hurriedly warned Mr. Su, please be careful. Tan Chong shouted with a hint of a sob while threatening. Do not step on my face. I told you not to step on my face. Are you even human? I threatened him with a grin. Another word and I will crush you to death. Show me your ultimate move first, then I will consider letting you go. Tan Chong let out a furious cry and unleashed his phantom sting. A claw entwined with black mist suddenly lunged out from within the shadows. With a light touch from me, that seemingly terrifying claw shattered inch by inch. It was as fragile as a piece of paper. Tan Chong gasped in horror. You are a grandmaster. It was you who killed Yi Wuxuan and wiped out the Yi family. Why have not you carved your name on the heaven rank? Fang An explained from the side that every new 7th grade grandmaster must climb Mount Shu to leave their name on the heaven rank. This is regarded as a sacred tradition. After a moment of contemplation, I spread my divine sense. I quickly located the peak at Mount Shu that pierced the clouds, a mountain face covered in carved names. I chuckled and decided to follow local custom. I will add a strike, so that those who follow may have another path to take. I shall fulfill this destiny. Deep in the Mount Shu range, a peak suddenly shot up another 1,000 meters. A towering sword, intense soared into the sky. Only a single character appeared on the peak, Su. Hidden masters across the country sensed the anomaly at once. They all looked up toward the heavens, turning toward Mount Shu with expressions of shock or bewilderment. I withdrew my divine sense, which was as vast as a sea of stars. I mused that on Earth, I can only use a negligible fraction of my power, lest the very laws of heaven collapse. Tan Chong, pinned under my foot, screamed for me to let go. But he only heard me ask indifferently, "Do you have any final words?" Learning he had nothing left to say, I said flatly, "Since there are no last words, then you may be on your way." Tan Chong screamed in terror, "The Jiang family of Yanjing." Those 4 words were like a massive mountain, pressing down on the hearts of Su Dai, Jiang Laobie, and Fang Zheng. Su Dai cautioned me with hesitation. "Mr. Su, the Jiangs are an undisputed martial powerhouse in Yanjing. Killing their martial artist may bring immense trouble." I raised my right foot, completely unconcerned. Tan Chong thought I was afraid of the Jiang family. He hurriedly poked his head out, trying to seize the chance to flee. But to his utter shock, my left foot came down on him again. I asked with a half smile, "Did you think you could escape just because I switched feet?" Tan Chong was about to explode with rage, but he did not dare utter a single word of it. He forced a strained smile onto his face. He begged me to release him and forge a good bond with the Jiangs today. Fang Jing explained that the young master of the Jiang family was likely Yi Wanqing's fiancé. Tan Chong nodded repeatedly, saying that was exactly the case. Jiang Laobie cupped his fists and advised, "Mr. Su, it is best to kill him. I have heard that the shadows of the Jiang family are elite assassins trained from birth. The trouble will be endless." Tan Chong anxiously offered to swear a poison oath, though his technique meant he would not live past 35. Who would not choose to live if they had the chance? Jiang Laobie reminded me, Tan Chong has the Jiang family's special mark. He cannot be trusted. Tan Chang's mouth twisted in anger as he cursed the old man in his heart. I placed my hands behind my back. I stated flatly that I could remove the mark for him. The condition was that he must follow me. Otherwise he dies. Shockwaves crashed through Tan Chang's heart. He could not believe I could remove a mark even a grandmaster could not break. But he only had one second to consider. Hearing that the alternative to following was death, why would he need even a second to think? His face darkened as he shouted his willingness to follow Mr. So, after I lifted my foot, Tan Chong felt the invisible threads bound to his body vanish. This discovery caused his expression to shift in total shock. Tan Chong realized the mark the Jiangs had branded into him had truly, genuinely disappeared. He asked me with a wary look, "Who exactly are you?" I answered simply, "I am just an ordinary man." A wide smile spread across Tan Chang's face. He was overjoyed that he no longer had to die for the Jiang family. After a loud laugh, Tan Chong leaped through the window to escape. Su Dai cried out in alarm, "Not good, he is running." I curled my lip, not caring in the least. Never mind a mere 6th grade martial artist. Even a 9th grade grandmaster is but a child before me. Tan Chong, already 100 meters away, was laughing wildly, celebrating his newfound freedom. Suddenly, his body turned rigid, unable to move a single inch. My cold voice reached him through telepathy. "I give you a choice, keep running and die, or come back obediently." Tan Chang's face turned deathly pale. He realized the man was likely an 8th grade upper grandmaster. His eyes flickered with uncertainty as he hesitated for a long time. Ultimately, he gave up on escaping. My voice came again, "Very good," and I released the binding. A streak of white light arrived before Tan Chong in an instant, imprinting itself directly upon his palm. Tan Chong was dazed, wanting to ask what this petal was. But no matter how he shouted, I ignored him. Zhou Feng looked at me coldly, stating he was retracting his previous bias. He expressed a desire to compete fairly for the position of clinic director. Lu Nanwei told me in a frigid tone that Director Li Shouzhong from the city hospitals waited all day yesterday. He seemingly wished to discuss medical techniques with me. As soon as she finished, the clinic door was pushed open. A sweat-drenched Li Shouzhong saw me and his eyes lit up. Sue, please, take a seat quickly. With a gaze full of a thirst for knowledge, Li Shouzhong questioned me. How exactly did you restart that boy's heart with just one finger? Seeing me hesitate for a moment, Li Shouzhong mistakenly thought this was a secret craft I was unwilling to teach. He smiled bitterly, saying if it were an ancestral secret he should not have asked. I explained that I was not afraid of outsiders learning a unique trade, but rather that it required spiritual energy, which cannot be taught. Nevertheless, I agreed to discuss medicine with him. Zhou Feng let out a scoff, thinking that just because I saved own patient, I was starting to think far too highly of myself. Hearing the two of us discuss herbal ingredients, Zhou Feng interjected. He pointed out there are fewer than 13,000 known medicinal herbs, and claimed I was talking absolute nonsense. I calmly stated that mountains, rivers, wind, and lightning can all be medicine. Just because you do not know it, does not mean it is not possible. Zhou Feng and Li Shouzhong could only shake their heads in frustration. The discussion grew increasingly intense. It was mostly Li Shouzhong asking, me answering, and Zhou Feng refuting. I was not annoyed, slowly resolving the doubts in their hearts. By the end of the debate, regardless of Eastern or Western medicine, I was the one teaching while Li Shouzhong was the one listening. Li Shouzhong's expression became one of profound respect. My well-reasoned explanations were a revelation to both of them. It even gave Li Shouzhong the illusion that this was exactly how medical science was meant to be. Lu Nanwei did not join the debate but listened in silence. Her beautiful eyes flickered between confusion and sudden brilliance. She began recording notes rapidly in her notebook. In a moment of inspiration, I spoke at great length. By the time I realized it, it was nearly 6 o'clock. I hurriedly apologized, saying I had to pick up my daughter from school. After saying that, I departed in a rush. The three in the clinic remained immersed in that vast ocean of knowledge. Lu Nanwei asked Li Shouzhong whether he thought what I had just said was true or false. Li Shouzhong's face was flushed with excitement. He said 70% was true. The rest needed time to verify, because I had nearly overturned all existing medical theories. The usually conceited Zhou Feng fell into a long silence of confusion, based purely on this advanced medical theory. I was absolutely an expert among experts. The kindergarten lets out at 5:30. Since I was 30 minutes late, I teleported there instantly. I caught sight of Sui, her little mouth pouting in unhappiness. I walked over, coughed, and offered an apology. Daddy forgot to come pick you up. Sui's little face remained tense. She snorted and turned away, ignoring me. With a grim face, I asked Qian Zhao nearby, "Did you do something to make my daughter angry?" Qian Zhao's small face was a picture of immense confusion and innocence. He explained he wanted to tell me that Yi had been praised. Sui glared at him with her large eyes. Terrified, Qian Zhao shrunk his neck and bolted away. He did not dare provoke this big sister of the school. My heart was full of self-reproach. I knelt before my daughter and promised never to be late again. Sui asked skeptically, "Is that true?" Only after receiving a firm answer did she leap into my arms. She whispered that she thought her parents did not want her anymore. I feigned anger and asked how that could be possible. "Mommy and Daddy love you very much. How could we ever not want you?" Sui pulled out a little red flower awarded by her teacher. She proudly announced she could recite the multiplication tables. The teacher gave her the little red flower as a reward. I kissed my daughter's forehead. I praised her warmly, saying she was truly amazing. Sui lifted her happy little face and said she wanted to eat meat. Upon returning home, Sui showed off to her mother. "Mommy, the teacher praised Yi today. She said Yi is so smart for knowing the multiplication tables." Ruan Tang offered her gentle praise. "Our Yi is truly the best. Come here and let Mommy give you a hug." Dinner consisted of various exotic delicacies once again. The mother and daughter were extremely satisfied with the meal. After dinner, I cleared the dishes. Under Ruan Tang's guidance, Sui practiced the piano. Seeing that Ruan Tang was clearly distracted, I asked if she was still thinking about company matters. "Actually, you do not need to worry. I am here for everything." Ruan Tang merely smiled and shook her head. Then she suggested hiring a bodyguard for Yi. Ruan Tang felt her uncle and the others were brewing some wicked scheme. After Ruan Tang coaxed our daughter to sleep, my figure flickered and vanished into thin air. I reappeared in a deserted demolition zone in Donghai City, atop the roof of the tallest abandoned building. Tan Chang was squinting through a nap, planning to find some food. He suddenly found a figure standing right beside him. He backed away repeatedly in sheer fright. Tan Chang's voice was cold, his heart full of horror. As a top-tier shadow assassin, He had not noticed at all when I had appeared by his side. With my hands behind my back, I gazed at the moonlight. You are going to help protect a girl. The person is my 5-year-old daughter, Sue. When Tan Chong heard it was a female, he even fantasized if he would be like a protagonist in a novel, developing a romance with the person he protected. Learning she was only 5, he gave himself a sharp mental slap. When I promised to help him reach the 7th grade as a reward, Tan Chong thought he had misheard me. He then doubted me. Even a grandmaster would not claim to help another breakthrough. Tan Chong suspected I had found some heavenly treasure. His eyes flashed with greed for an instant, but remembering I was a grandmaster, he realized he could not steal it, and his heart sank halfway. Tan Chong sighed and accepted the task with bitterness. He knew the grandmaster realm was out of reach. With his hidden injuries, the 7th grade was impossible in this life. I snapped my fingers and spoke. Before me, there is nothing that cannot be done. The moonlight falling from the sky suddenly transformed into butterflies. Tan Chong gasped as he watched the lunar butterflies flood his body. The warm moonlight instantly healed his internal injuries. A powerful aura began to fill his being. By the seaside, a little girl following her mother pointed at the sky in amazement. Look, the moonlight turned into butterflies and is flying. But her mother did not believe her words. Own butterfly veered from the group and landed in the girl's palm. The girl laughed happily as she touched the butterfly. Finally, the butterfly turned into a beam of light and merged into her. The mother urged the little girl to come home. The girl rubbed her eyes in confusion, finding the butterfly gone. For a moment, she wondered if she had seen it wrong. No one imagined that 10 years later, a woman with footwork like a butterfly would emerge across the world. Honored by posterity as the first sword grandmaster of 300 years, Su Dai. I watched Tan Chong absorb the massive amount of lunar butterflies and nodded. I felt that while this kid's life was destined to be a bit short, he did possess a fair amount of talent. Tan Chong used the massive energy to forcibly break into the 7th grade. Every second felt like 1,000 cuts of agony. With a pained face, he roared as he endured it all, until I grew tired enough to yawn. An astonishing pressure soared into the heavens. Tan Chong stood up, a terrifying aura swirling around his successful promotion. A half-moon vision appeared in the sky, though it only lasted a minute. Still, it was seen by many martial artists, leaving them in shocked awe. In the martial world, whenever a heavenly vision appears, it signifies the emergence of a new grandmaster. This meant another top-tier powerhouse had been born. Upon entering the master bedroom, I acted like a total gentleman. So I spoke up, "Wife, why have not you rested yet at this late hour?" Facing my concern, Ruan Tang reminded me with a cold expression. "When our daughter Yi is not present, just call me by my name. We are but a couple in name only." I, however, appeared casual and natural. It would become real sooner or later. I feigned a serious tone to remind Ruan Tang. It would not be good if he was not asleep and overheard our conversation. Her brows furrowed slightly as she retorted with icy sarcasm. "I hope that when our daughter cries for her father in the night, you, as her father, can also appear just as promptly." Ruan Tang slammed the apple onto the table and returned to her room in a huff. I, meanwhile, muttered to myself about the act of wasting food, and casually picked up the apple to take a couple of bites. Just as I was munching on the apple, Ruan Tang suddenly turned back. She saw the apple she had spent 10 minutes peeling being eaten by me, and her entire being was instantly on the verge of an explosion. I appeared somewhat stunned and innocent. I had originally thought the other party had gone to her room to sleep, never imagining she had only returned to grab a water glass. I scratched my head, attempting to diffuse this inexplicable awkwardness. Instead of apologizing, I stated with total sincerity, "Though you took a bite, I do not find it distasteful at all." Ruan Tang was speechless with rage and instinctively gripped her glass tight. Seeing this, I hurriedly offered the remaining half of the apple, advising her to just say so if she wanted it back. In order to make up for my mistake, I took the initiative to speak up. "How about I prepare a lavish midnight snack for you as compensation?" Although Ruan Tang resolutely refused at first, using weight loss as an excuse to restrain her appetite. The moment I mentioned the name stir-fried crawfish, her resolve clearly began to waver. I immediately threw in braised pig's trotters as the main highlight, knowing well that no one could resist my culinary skills. Ruan Tang ultimately could not withstand the charm of the delicacies. To save face, Ruan Tang declared she had forgiven me, and suggested that I add a soup to the meal. I, however, was shocked by a woman's appetite, as it seemed to me to be a portion meant for 3 people. Ruan Tang nearly cleared out a whole basin of spiritual shrimp from the immortal realm that took 1,000 years to raise, along with an entire large pig's trotter. Such an appetite made me feel the pressure doubling. Full and satisfied, Ruan Tang was in a great mood and put her worries aside. She looked at me as I sat deep in thought, staring at the shrimp shells, and bashfully explained she was just afraid of wasting food. To break the awkwardness, Ruan Tang then mentioned taking me shopping on Saturday, and hesitatingly invited me to come along. I agreed without hesitation to this chore of being a manual laborer. I knew well this was a golden chance to bond with my daughter. That night, I drifted into a dreamland with a wonderful mood. The next morning, the group arrived at the department store. The late arriving Ruan Lan found my presence quite strange. She brandished her claws at me in a show of defiance. I remarked that Ruan Lan has the foundation but can't afford the mine. This teasing caused the young and spirited Ruan Lan to fly into a rage. A game of cat and mouse ensued right there in the mall. The innocent E asked what a foundation was. Ruan Tang embarrassedly told her daughter to ask her aunt. This follow-up blow made Ruan Lan feel her pride was hurt in an instant. Though indignant, Ruan Lan could only follow along with the shopping. Amidst the laughter, she also observed us in secret. Finding that my sister and I walked a full meter apart, this state of zero interaction, appearing like total strangers, instantly made Ruan Lan suspicious. She began to doubt if the two were truly doing this for their daughter, faking a marriage to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. Facing Ruan Lan's questioning about the wedding and their cold relationship, I reacted swiftly by taking Ruan Tang's hand. I explained it was because her sister was thin-skinned. Having wandered all morning, I had not only been a mobile clothes rack, but was also forced to carry a huge pile of garments. Clearly, this drudgery is truly not easy to handle. In the evening, Ruan Lan received a heavy phone call. Knowing she had to return to the Ruan family for the marriage, she looked listless. Ruan Tang perceived the look in her younger sister's eyes. She firmly insisted on accompanying her sister to face the family. Ruan Tang could not bear to see her sister step into that family fire pit. At that moment, I received a respectful call from the martial artist Fang An. Fang An stated he would represent the Fang family to reject the union tomorrow, and invited me to be present to witness it together. I readily agreed to the request, deciding to accompany my wife back to the Ruan family the next day. I hoped to settle the trouble once and for all through this move, even if Ruan Lan worried this action might harm her sister. Returning home late at night, due to the room allocation issue, Ruan Lan refused to leave the guest room, putting Ruan Tang in a bind. If Ruan Tang did not stay with me, the truth would surely be exposed. Once inside the master bedroom, I acted very gentlemanly. I offered to sleep on the living room sofa once our daughter fell asleep. This caused a trace of guilt to arise within Ruan Tang's heart. To coax Yi to sleep, I began to tell a fantasy story of the venerable Qingfeng. The novel plot not only attracted the child, but even Ruan Tang listened with total fascination. I reached a climax in the story and deliberately left them in suspense. Ruan Tang, however, was relentless and demanded I finish it. This scene made me realize my wife was actually a story lover. Upon hearing the story of how the venerable Qingfeng swept through the Western Black Dragon clan alone, her eyes sparkled. She sincerely praised that such was the true character of a man. Little did she know the very man was right beside her. When Ruan Tang sighed that such a heroic figure was unfortunately fictional and could never be met, my heart felt incredibly complex. For I was that very venerable Qingfeng who shook the starry river. Ultimately, I did not reveal the truth on this quiet night. I gently tucked the mother and daughter in with the blanket, then went alone to the living room to endure the sofa for a night. The next morning, Ruan Lan stayed in bed due to stress and was teased. Then, the group headed to the Ruan family with complex emotions. The Ruan estate was currently decorated with lanterns in a festive mood. The entire family believed clinging to the Fang family was a great blessing. Even the servants had smiles plastered on their faces. The current head, Ruan Su, was formally accompanying Fang An for tea, though the Fang family head's absence made him feel slight regret. He did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. Ruan Qingshan's family, meanwhile, appeared exceptionally arrogant. They believed that by facilitating the union of Ruan Lan and the Fangs, their branch would surely obtain a very high status in the family. In contrast, Ruan Lan's biological parents, Ruan Yinshan and Zhu Fun, appeared cowardly and humble. In private, Zhu Fun kept complaining that her husband was useless. Zhu Fun vented all her anger onto her eldest daughter, Ruan Tang. Hearing Ruan Qingshan mention Ruan Tang's return and the company transfer, a complex look of calculation appeared in her eyes. I was well aware of the stakes behind this marriage alliance. I not only wanted to protect Ruan Tang but also wanted those self-righteous Ruans to pay the proper price. As the luxury fleet slowly drove into the manor, Ruan Tang's mood appeared exceptionally heavy. She did not know if what awaited her would be family warmth, or yet another round of cold shoulders. I walked behind them with a face of total indifference, as if nothing in this world could make me frown. Everyone in the main hall turned their gaze toward the entrance. When they saw the long-absent Ruan Tang reappear, various complex expressions intertwined on everyone's faces. The moment Fang An saw me, his eyelids twitched wildly. He hurriedly stood up to salute, but was stopped by my gaze. He could only suppress the shock in his heart and remain calm. I accompanied my wife and daughter back to my father-in-law's home. Ruan Tang took a deep breath, clutching little Yi's hand tightly. With my steady and calm gaze supporting her every step, she slowly entered the Ruan family's cold and imposing hall. The moment Ruan Qingshan saw me, he exploded in a fury. Where on earth have the security guards gone? How can they let such low-life scoundrels inside? Throw them out of here this instant. Hearing this, Fang An's hand trembled, nearly dropping his teacup. The horror in his heart instantly transformed into a searing rage. He slammed the table with a thunderous strike. How dare you? Ruan Qingshan was startled by this sudden, angry outburst. Regaining his composure a moment later, he pointed at me, hiding behind Fang An's borrowed authority. Even Mr. Fang says you are bold and reckless. He continued his mockery. You frogs in a well probably do not know, but Mr. Fang An is a true martial artist, possessing terrifying power that mortals cannot even imagine. Fang An looked at Ruan Qingshan's face and nearly burst with rage. Ignoring his public image, he pointed at Ruan Qingshan's nose and roared, Ruan Qingshan, shut your mouth. The smile on Ruan Qingshan's face froze instantly. The man was completely dumbfounded. He could not fathom why this Fang family patron would curse his own ally. But then a thought crossed his mind. Rumor has it many martial artists suffer mishaps during training, which ends up damaging their brains. To him, this Mr. Fang An was surely a living example of that, though Ruan Su's expression was incredibly dark. As the head of the household, he was far more calculating and composed than the others. Since you are here, take a seat. Lana, do not just stand there. Come behind your grandfather. I maintained a composed and natural expression, as if I could not feel the hostility radiating from my surroundings. Gently protecting Ruan Tang, who held our daughter in her arms, I walked straight to the chair that symbolized the lowest status. Ruan Lan gritted her teeth in silence. She gave her sister and brother-in-law a look full of complex emotions. After a moment of hesitation, she finally lowered her head and stood obediently behind her grandfather, Ruan Su, sitting at the head of the table. Fang An's gaze inadvertently swept over Ruan Lan's striking features. He clicked his tongue inwardly in quiet amazement. No wonder the clan head had not rejected this alliance immediately. He finally understood his master's original thoughts. Such a beauty indeed possessed the capital to move anyone's heart. Unfortunately, the situation had shifted entirely. Song Ryu sat to the side, staring coldly at Ruan Tang. Before we discuss Ruan Lan's marriage, Ruan Tang, you would better return to the office this afternoon. Being the family's punching bag, Zhu Fen poked her head out cautiously at this moment. Seeing her sister-in-law's domineering and arrogant manner, she asked weakly, Sister-in-law, what is the monthly salary? Song Ryu shot a sidelong glance at Zhu Fen. A contemptuous curve formed at the corner of her mouth. She said indifferently, 3,000. Take it or leave it. Hearing that number, Ruan Tang laughed out of pure anger. Even the company's cleaning staff earned more than that. Song Ryu was clearly trying to humiliate her in front of everyone. She recalled the journey to the Ruan estate, where I had already warned her about the traps in the Huashang contract. This turned her panicked heart into something exceptionally firm and calm. Ruan Tang straightened her back and looked Song Ryu in the eye. It is impossible for me to go back, since you were the ones to breach the contract first. Prepare to pay the 30 million yuan termination fee. Upon hearing those words, Ruan Jin leaped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He pointed at Ruan Tang's nose and began to curse wildly. Did you and Huashang conspire to set me up? Facing her cousin's frantic accusations, Ruan Tang's face remained calm as still water, her eyes untroubled. She simply uttered 2 words in response, I did not. Seeing her dead pig unafraid of boiling water attitude, Ruan Jin's anger surged to his head. How dare you lie? He grabbed a teacup and hurled it at her. Fang An nearly lost his soul watching this scene unfold. If the Grandmaster's wife was injured in front of him, how many lives would he need to pay for such a failure? He let out a thunderous roar. Enough, stop this. With Fong An's roar, which was infused with inner power, the glass teacup flying through the air seemed to slam into an invisible wall. With a loud bang, it shattered into dust in mid-air. Astonishingly, after the teacup burst, not a single shard of glass fell to the floor. All the fragments seemed held by an invisible giant hand, suspending them all quietly in the empty air. This scene possessed an immense visual impact, causing the faces of the Ruan family to turn pale. Their eyes widened in shock. Is this the legendary power of a martial artist? They marveled. This is simply too terrifying. Little did they know, Fong An was just as shocked to the core. In his heart he screamed, Mr. Su is truly a legendary grandmaster. His strength is unfathomable. Looking at the suspended fragments, Fong An knew well that this was not his doing at all. It was my mastery of hidden power, reaching a level of absolute perfection. I gently patted my startled daughter. My indifferent gaze swept across the entire room. I slowly uttered a single word, continue. It was as if I were reminding Fong An of the matter at hand, the marriage. Fong An shuddered upon hearing that word. He slapped his forehead. Right, I almost forgot the main task. I am here today on behalf of the Fong family to discuss the marriage. Song Ru's spirits lifted instantly. She launched a rapid fire of questions without waiting. Is the date set? Where will the wedding be held? Does the bride price all belong to us? Even my cheap mother-in-law, Zhu Fun, who usually lacked any presence, pricked up her ears at this moment, greedily waiting for Fong An's answer. Only Ruan Lan, upon hearing the words marriage alliance, felt a flash of pure despair in her eyes. She lowered her head bitterly, her hands clutching the hem of her clothes. Her knuckles turned white from the sheer force of her grip. Ruan Tang's beautiful face turned icy, looking at her family's willingness to sell their daughter for glory. She wanted to stand up in a fit of rage, but my hand gently pressed down on hers. I signaled her to remain calm, because I knew Fong An's next words would be like a thunderclap on a clear day for the Ruan family, utterly shattering all their greedy dreams and fantasies. Fong An took a deep breath and stood tall. With a loud and clear voice, he announced, after careful consideration by the clan, the Fong family officially decides to reject the alliance with the Ruans. Ruan Su was just about to nod in agreement, but his face changed drastically when he heard the second half. He asked in disbelief, reject, Mr. Fong, what exactly do you mean by this? Fong An looked at Ruan Su's stunned old face. He repeated himself with a cold, expressionless look, his tone carrying a hint of indifference. Exactly what I said. The matter of the marriage alliance is hereby terminated. Ruan Lan looked up abruptly. Her dull eyes were instantly filled with a pleasant surprise. This sudden light at the end of the tunnel made her wonder if she had misheard him. Song Ru fell into a state of frantic anxiety. She shouted in a panic, then. What about Ruan Lan? She and the second Master Fong are a perfect match. How can you just cancel it like that? She knew very well that if the Ruan and Fong families did not unite, the grand plan to pivot the Ruan family into real estate would vanish like a burst bubble. Zhu Fen likewise stood up in a panicked state. She was counting on her daughter marrying into the Fong family, so that she might finally become a true high society lady. Fong An looked at this group of mercenary people. With a solemn expression, he provided a single reason. The second master of the Fong family is not worthy of Miss Ruan Lan. This is our Fong family's self-awareness. He added silently in his heart, that is the sister-in-law of a grandmaster. Even with 100 times the courage, the Fangs would not dare reach so high. That was the true reason for rejecting the union. However, this honest truth tasted completely different in the ears of the Ruan family. They thought it was merely an excuse, and that Ruan Lan had actually been rejected and despised by the Fangs. The old master Ruan pleaded unwillingly, Mr. Fong, please see if the Fong head can show some leniency. We can continue the cooperation, even if we have to give up more profit. But Fong An did not even give him a glance. He stood up and walked straight toward me in the corner, under the stunned gazes of everyone present. He cupped his fists and bowed deeply in a respectful salute. His tone was humble to the absolute extreme, like a subordinate reporting his work to a superior. Mr. Su, are you satisfied with this outcome? Mr. Su, are you satisfied with this arrangement? I intended to keep a low profile, but my strength would not allow it. Fong An's words and sudden actions left everyone in the Ruan family in a state of total shock. The hall became so quiet that a falling needle could be heard. I just stood there quietly watching them perform, wearing an expression that said, I am just here for the show. Fang En is a consecrated master of the Fang family. His status is supreme, usually looking down on everyone. Yet now, he actually asked a nobody like me if I was satisfied. This was simply beyond belief. Ruan Su's face turned incredibly grim. He believed Fang En was deliberately showing me favor, specifically to humiliate the Ruan family, trying to keep them as the laughingstock of the city. He felt Fang En's intentions were truly malicious. His expression suddenly darkened. Mr. Fang, you have gone a bit too far. Though my Ruan family has lost its influence, we are not to be insulted. Fang En raised an eyebrow, turned around, and looked coldly at Ruan Su. Marrying your granddaughter to our second young master, do you have no shame? Ruan Qingshan shouted. Is not a marriage alliance perfectly normal? Ruan Lan and the second master are a match made in heaven. This was all for the sake of Ruan Lan's lifelong happiness. Fang En could not help but let out a mocking laugh. He shook his head, sighing at how strange people are nowadays, clearly doing something for a sliver of personal gain, yet insisting on calling it a pursuit of happiness. He pointed at Ruan Lan and questioned loudly. A young girl of 18 or 19 years old, marrying a man in a vegetative state, you call that happiness? These words were like a slap across the face of the Ruan family. How could that ever be happiness? Ruan Lan stood there with an expressionless face. At this moment, she felt completely chilled to the bone by this family. Fang En noticed my calm demeanor, and seemed to receive a slight nod of approval from me. His spirits instantly lifted. The heavy stone in his heart finally hit the ground. He had finally fulfilled the clan head's instructions. He knew that after today, as long as the fangs clung to the Grandmaster tree, why would they ever be limited to a mere Hang city? The future of the Fang family would be the Sea of Stars. Ruan Qingshan gritted his teeth and demanded, Su Lai, what exactly is going on here? What benefit did you give Mr. Fang to make him side with you like this? Ruan Tang and Ruan Lan also looked over in confusion. To be honest, both women were also in the dark. When did I ever have such immense face that a Fang family master would bow before me? I let out a soft chuckle. The Fang representative is right here. If you have questions, ask him. Ask me. Is the answer written on my face? I looked at Ruan Qingshan with mockery. You do not dare blame the Fangs, so you want to find a scapegoat, just to give your pathetic self-esteem a bit of comfort. Ruan Qingshan was choked up by my words, his face turning the color of a pig's liver, because that was exactly what he was thinking. He did not dare offend the Fang family, so he could only vent his anger on a soft target like me. I added in a leisurely tone, and do not forget, your son still owes Huashang 30 million. Instead of shouting at me here, you would better think about how to pay that money back. Upon hearing this, Ruan Jin's face changed instantly. He had not been worried before, because he held Sui as a trump card, planning to use the child to force Ruan Tang's compromise. Now it seemed that was impossible. Fang En was clearly standing on my side. His greatest reliance was gone. He suddenly cried out in terror, Grandpa, save me. Ruan Su furrowed his brows and asked in a deep voice, what is this, what 30 million? He was so angry his beard was trembling. He gave Ruan Jin a look of utter disappointment, but he still spoke to Ruan Tang in a commanding tone. Ruan Tang, get back to the office immediately. Help your uncle's family fulfill the Huashang contract. This is a family order. Ruan Lan stood up indignantly and said, by what right? That was clearly my sister's company, and it was snatched away by uncle and the others. Now that there is trouble, you want my sister to fix it. Ruan Su barked imperiously, because we are family. The name Ruan is written the same way for all of us. Ruan Tang, I am talking to you. Do you hear me? Ruan Tang gazed at the familiar yet increasingly strange Ruan family members and said slowly, 5 years ago, though I was kicked out of the Ruan house, I still held on to certain illusions. Ruan Su thought she was yielding. He nodded with satisfaction. Come back. As long as you return and fulfill the contract, I can let bygones be bygones, and restore you to the family genealogy. Ruan Tang coldly interrupted Ruan Su, saying word for word, but today my heart has completely died. 5 years. Do you know how I lived these 5 years? You people have not changed a bit. Ruan Su's expression shifted. You dare speak to me like that? Do you know the consequences of refusing the family? You will lose everything. Ruan Tang picked up our daughter without a shred of nostalgia. She said calmly, I will not return to the company. From now on, I have no further connection to the Ruan family. Su Lai, Ruan Lan, let us go. Ruan Lan did not even have to think about it. She walked straight to her sister's side. She had long since had enough of this household. At this moment, she felt an immense sense of relief. Grandpa Ruan-su was trembling with rage. Ruan-lan, you want to leave the Ruan family too. If you leave, do not you ever come back. I will act as if I never had a granddaughter like you. Instead of being startled, Ruan-lan was delighted. She turned back, made a face and said, those are your words. Do not you dare regret them. I have no desire to stay in such a heartless family anyway. Ruan-su was speechless with rage, able only to pant heavily with a dark, brooding look, staring intensely at their retreating backs. Ruan Qingshan grumbled and cursed. Brother, you have truly raised two wonderful daughters, each own more ungrateful than the last. Are they trying to kill the old master with anger? Ruan-su also turned his head and shook it in disappointment. Inshan, I am very disappointed in you. You can't even discipline your own daughters. You are truly incompetent. Ruan Inshan's expression flickered with uncertainty, always a bully to the weak and a coward to the strong. Facing the old master's cold, accusing gaze, he could not help but roar at his daughters. Apologize to your grandfather and your uncle. Ruan Tang stopped abruptly, turned, and shielded her sister. She looked coldly at her father. Ruan-lan is right. There is no need for an apology. The one in the wrong is this family. Ruan Inshan glared. Shut your mouth. If not for you, how would your grandfather have stripped me of my position? I have fallen to this state all because of you. Ruan Tang's expression was one of absolute disappointment. Her father's professional ability was atrocious. When he held a key position in the family business, he made a total mess of every deal. It was always her cleaning up after him. Knowing her father's cowardly, blame-shifting nature, she simply fell into silence. She knew that in this house, no matter what she said, it would be wrong. Zhu Fan also chimed in with her own selfish motives. Ruan Tang, listen to your father. Apologize with your sister to your uncle and grandpa. There might still be a chance to return and enjoy family life. But Ruan Tang ignored her completely, as if she were hearing the buzzing of a swarm of flies. She turned with Su Yi and left resolutely, leaving them with a cold and proud silhouette. A cold smirk played on my lips. Ruan-lan and I quickly followed her, under the stunned gaze of the entire Ruan clan. The three of us strode out of the Ruan family gates. Ruan-su slammed the table in a fit of rage. They have all lost their minds. From this day on, they are no longer members of my Ruan family. Even if they die out there, do not any of you care. Fong-an looked at this group of clowns. He remarked mockingly, no wonder the Ruan family is in decline, guarding a mountain of gold without knowing it, and instead pushing a true dragon away. Fong-an shook his head and asked meaningfully, do you know what the Ruan family has given up? For the sake of such petty gains, you have abandoned the very ladder to the clouds. Everyone in the Ruan family was stunned. They did not understand why Fong-an would say such things. In their eyes, driving away Ruan Tang was merely shedding a burden. Ruan Tang looked at Ruan-lan beside her. You have completely broken away from the Ruan family now. Your income is cut off. What will you do in the future? Ruan-lan said with a grin, I will take it own step at a time. To be honest, sis, I want to enter showbiz after I graduate. I want to be a movie star. In the back seat, Su Yi blinked her large eyes. She asked in a milky voice, does that mean Yi will see Auntie on TV later? Ruan-lan turned her head and said seriously, that is right. Then you can proudly tell your classmates that your aunt is a top-tier superstar. Ruan Tang reached out and tapped her sister's head ruthlessly. Stop daydreaming. The entertainment industry is a shark tank. Focusing on your studies is what matters. Ruan-lan rubbed her head and muttered in dissatisfaction. Do not tap my head, it will make me stupid, and I'm not a child anymore. Sis, stop lecturing me all the time. I have my own plans. Just then, Ruan Qingshan and the others chased after them, panting. They blocked the path right in front of the BMW 3 Series. Song Ryu pointed at Ruan Tang's nose and shouted, get out of the car. Ruan Tang did not get out, nor did she even lower the window. She simply pressed the horn with an expressionless face. Beep, a long loud blast. She used it to express her utter impatience. Song Ru's face was incredibly sour. Fearing the car might actually drive away, she hurriedly pounded on the car door and said, Ruan Tang, open up, we are here to apologize. Ruan-lan and Ruan Tang exchanged a look, both stunned. Is the sun rising from the west today? They were so high and mighty a moment ago. Why chase us down now to apologize? Seeing Ruan Tang slowly roll down the window, Song Ryu suppressed her rage and spoke directly. Ruan Tang, you may have clung to the 8th master, but it is really nothing special. Ruan Tang was completely confused and asked in doubt. What eighth master, what are you talking about? She truly had no idea about any of this. Could it be Jiang Laobie from Luqing? Song Ru said impatiently, stop acting. Can't we just apologize to you? The company is being returned to you. Now, hurry and tell eighth master to stop targeting the Ruans. Consider it a plea from us. Ruan Qingshan and his son, Ruan Jin, stood to the side. They still wore arrogant expressions, as if this apology was some grand gift to Ruan Tang. They lacked any hint of a proper attitude for asking a favor. Ruan Tang became even more bewildered. Her only interaction with eighth master was a few days ago at the tea house reunion, when Li Jia and Song Qin provoked him. She did not even have the eighth master's contact info. Wait, she suddenly remembered. Eighth master and Su Dai had stayed behind with Su Lai. Could all of this be related to Su Lai? Ruan Tang recalled what I told her to comfort her when her company was first taken away. But it all felt so unrealistic. She shook her head inwardly. Su Lai is just an ordinary man back from the military. How could he have the influence to make the powerful eighth master act against the Ruans? Ruan Lan looked at these so-called relatives and snorted. Uncle, is this your attitude when begging for help? Who are you showing those nostrils to? You have no sincerity at all. Ruan Jin roared, what else do you want us to do? We have already chased you out here. Do not push us too far. Enough is enough. Do not be ungrateful when we give you face. Ruan Lan rolled her eyes and shouted directly. Since they do not want to apologize properly, let us go. There is no need to waste time with them. Ruan Jin was terrified the moment he saw the car move. If they left, where would he borrow 30 million? Was he really going to end up behind bars? He gritted his teeth and bowed his head unwillingly. His voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. I am sorry. Those two words seemed squeezed out through his teeth. Ruan Lan put a hand to her ear. Pretending to struggle, she said loudly, what? I can't hear you. Did you not eat today? Such a big man, yet speaking so quietly. Ruan Jin's face turned beet red with rage. He used all his strength, nearly crushing his own teeth. He bellowed, I am sorry. Are you satisfied now? Sitting in the back seat, I said leisurely, your attitude is insincere. I do not accept it. If apologies are meant to be shouted, then why do we even need the police? Ruan Qingshan barked. Ruan Lan, Su Lai, do not go too far. We have already bowed our heads. We are still relatives after all. Do not make this too ugly. I looked at him coldly. The ones going too far are clearly you. You stole my wife's company, forced Ruan Lan into a marriage alliance. You even tried to kidnap me, which one of those many things was not going too far. Ruan Qingshan took a deep breath, suppressing his fury. Then what exactly do you want? Lay out your terms. As long as it solves the problem, everything is negotiable. My expression remained calm, as if I were discussing something completely ordinary. I slowly uttered 3 words, kneel and apologize. That is the only solution. Ruan Qingshan shouted, impossible. You want me to kneel to you? You are dreaming. This was a total trampling of his dignity. I shrugged with a look of total indifference. In that case, there is nothing left to talk about. Honey, we are going to be late. Let us drive. Ruan Jin's face changed instantly upon hearing his father's words. If Ruan Tang really left, it would be a disaster. The entire Ruan family might suffer because of this. While Ruan Jin was still struggling intensely in his heart, Ruan Qingshan's knees suddenly went weak beside him. Without any warning, he knelt heavily onto the ground. Ruan Qingshan kept his head bowed low. His voice hid a deep, thick sense of unwillingness, and a trace of suppressed resentment could even be heard. He gritted his teeth and said, Ruan Tang, I am sorry. Ruan Tang watched this scene with a calm expression. She had never dared to imagine that her uncle, who was always so majestic in the family, would one day kneel before her to beg for forgiveness. Ruan Tang felt no joy of victory in her heart, nor any hysterical anger. So she simply stood there quietly, without saying a single word. Seeing this, Song Ru's face shifted again as she shrieked. What do you mean by this? Your uncle has already knelt to you. You still won't forgive us. Are you trying to drive us to our deaths? I stood behind Ruan Tang, my cold gaze sweeping over these pathetic clowns. My tone was flat, yet it carried an unquestionable authority. The two of you kneel down as well. Ruan Qingshan looked up abruptly. He said through gritted teeth, I will contact the lawyer immediately to return full ownership of the fashion company to you. Hearing they had to surrender the company, Ruan Jin let out an unwilling shout. Dad, that was the result of our hard work for so long. How can we just give it back to her like that? Ruan Qingshan no longer cared about his dignity. He turned back and let out a furious roar at them. All of you kneel down. Is this the time for nonsense? Though filled with resentment, Ruan Jin and Song Aryu could only kneel down reluctantly under the old master's rage. Ruan Tang, we are sorry. Ruan Tang gave the pathetic trio a cold, condescending glance. She did not linger a moment longer. She rolled up the window and signaled me to drive away. Ruan Jin watched the receding car, clenching his fists in grief and indignation. A massive surge of fury welled up in his heart, and he slammed his fist into the hard ground. Ruan Qingshan slowly stood up, brushing the dust off his knees. Today was about the survival of the Ruan family. Is face more important, or is the family? It seems 8th Master is quite sensible after all. Ruan Lan spoke happily while munching on chilled watermelon. Sis, things went so smoothly today, but why exactly did 8th Master decide to help us? I never expected it to be this easy. Ruan Lan suddenly leaned in closer. She grinned gossipy. Did that 8th Master take a fancy to you? After all, you are the greatest beauty in Hang City. Ruan Tang spat out the water she had just sipped. She shot her sister a sharp glare. What kind of nonsense are you talking about all day? Ruan Tang scolded her with a hint of annoyance. Jiang Laobie is old enough to be my grandfather. You really need to watch that mouth of yours. I listened to the sisters' conversation from the side. The corners of my mouth curled up. Just as I was about to interject, Ruan Tang snapped coldly, does this have anything to do with you? Ruan Tang looked at me suspiciously. Her woman's intuition told her for some reason that Su Lai was hiding something important from her. Facing my wife's interrogation, I nodded very honestly and seriously, yes, it does. Because I was the one who arranged all of this behind the scenes. Ruan Lan could not help but curl her lip. Stop bragging. If you could actually order 8th Master around, I, Ruan Lan, would finally accept you as my brother-in-law. Ruan Lan waved her small fist and vowed confidently. From now on, any other man who tries to get near my sister, I will chase them all away for you. I nodded with satisfaction and said with a smile, all right, then it is a deal. Sister-in-law, you are as reliable as ever. I have high hopes for you. However, Ruan Tang looked at the two of them with an icy gaze. She interrupted in a blunt tone. I'm not a betting chip for you two to use. Ruan Lan had a sudden lapse in judgment and blurted out. Then I will be the chip, how's that? If this is true, I will marry him myself. Better to keep the goodies in the family, right? This time, it was my turn to spray tea everywhere. I was left utterly dumbfounded by my sister-in-law's shocking words. I nearly choked to death on the spot. Ruan Tang's voice went up an octave, her face flushed with rage. Ruan Lan, what on earth is going on in that head of yours? Get back to school and go to class, right now. Ruan Lan realized she had gone way too far. She made a playful, mischievous face, grabbed her backpack and vanished in a flash. Ruan Tang turned her head and warned me with a piercing gaze. If I ever find out that you have any strange thoughts or designs on my sister, I will kill you myself. I shrugged helplessly. So, it is fine if it is towards you then. After all, you are Yi's mother. That is only fair and reasonable. I gazed deeply into Ruan Tang's eyes with affection. Do not worry. Though I am the dream man of every woman, I only have eyes for you. With a gentle smile at the corners of my mouth, I said, I looked into your eyes and knew I would found the own. In this lifetime, besides you, Ruan Tang, I won't give anyone else a second glance. Ruan Tang looked at this man talking nonsense with a straight face. She suddenly felt exhausted. How could her daughter's deadbeat father be so thick-skinned? Ruan Tang gritted her teeth inwardly. I looked into your eyes and knew you are the own I want to slap. If it was not for Yi, I would really kick you out of here for good. After lunch that day, the Ruan family lawyer arrived with the drafted contract. At Ruan Tang's house, the documents were signed, and the company was officially hers again. On the first afternoon of Ruan Tang's return, orders began to flood in like a tidal wave, amounts ranging from hundreds of thousands to millions, leaving her completely overwhelmed. Ruan Tang looked at the financial reports in astonishment. She wondered if Huashang Group had helped open up these channels. Otherwise, how could there be so much business? But I knew very well in my heart that behind these orders were the great clans of Hang City. They had caught wind of the situation, and were simply trying to curry favor with me. I watched all of this silently. I noted their gesture of goodwill. Though I do not need these mundane aids, making my wife happy is a nice bonus. Just then, my phone vibrated with an unfamiliar number. I answered, and Tan Chang's familiar voice came through. Come to the beach. I have business with you. I frowned slightly. I glanced at my daughter playing and refused flatly. I am at home watching my daughter. No time for small talk. Tan Chang's voice on the other end carried a hint of annoyance. Not even a grandmaster can invite you out. I am a grandmaster now. Give me some face. Listening to his inflated tone, I could not help but chuckle. It seems this kid is getting a bit ahead of himself. Just reached the grandmaster level and already putting on airs. I thought to myself, his realm probably is not even stable yet. Who gave him the nerve to act tough in front of me? But for my daughter's safety, I should go. I nodded perfunctorily into the phone. Fine, Grandmaster Tan. Since you have invited me so warmly, I will find time to go and witness your majesty. Tan Chang hung up the phone with immense satisfaction. He felt himself filled with infinite power, even having the illusion that he could punch through the void. Though he knew I was the one who helped him promote, and he had promised to protect my daughter. His status was different now, after all. I held Sui's hand, and strolled leisurely along the narrow coastal path at dusk, as if I did not know someone had been waiting all afternoon. Tan Chang narrowed his eyes at the man who made him wait. You finally showed up. Su Lai, do you have any idea that I have been waiting here for a full 4 hours? Facing the interrogation, I simply said calmly. It was too hot during the day. The sun was too strong. My daughter did not want a tan, so we waited for it to cool down. Tan Chang's eyes nearly popped out at that excuse. Then why did not you call me in advance? You made me waste all this time. I shrugged with an innocent look. You did not ask what time I was coming. I thought you enjoyed the sea breeze and the sun to reflect on life. Tan Chang was choked up, unable to say a single word. He thought to himself, what you said makes perfect sense. But I really want to beat you to death right now. Except, I still can't beat you. Sui blinked her big, watery eyes. Taking small bites of her cloud cotton candy, she asked in a milky voice, Daddy, this grandpa is so strange. Hearing the word grandpa, Tan Chang nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. His use of concealment techniques had shortened his lifespan, but he was actually only in his 30s. Tan Chang touched his face, thinking with grief and indignation. Even if I look a bit older than my age, calling me a grandpa is just too heartbreaking. Tan Chang raised an eyebrow at me, clearly displeased. Su Lai, your daughter's mouth is as sweet as honey, is not it? She sure knows how to please people. Before I could even speak, Sui replied happily, really? Then I will say some more. Grandpa, your beard makes you look like an old immortal. I fought hard to stifle my laughter. Inwardly I praised, this is definitely my, Su Lai's, daughter. Every word she says is more infuriating than the last. This talent for verbal assists is truly innate. Tan Chang went straight to the point, though you helped me reach Grandmaster. I only have about 25 years left to live. So, I will only serve you for 10 years. After 10 years, return my freedom. Hearing this, I nodded in agreement without any hesitation. 10 years is more than enough. When the time comes, you are free to go wherever you please. In truth, I have long been invincible in this mortal realm. How could even a top-tier grandmaster hope to scratch me in the slightest? I simply did not want to handle every trivial matter personally. Tan Chang nodded with satisfaction. 10 years was ample time to repay this life-changing favor. For the remaining 15 years, he would roam the world as a respected grandmaster, free and easy. If the billions in the immortal realm knew what Tan Chang was thinking, they would surely think he was a fool. This was a chance to serve the emperor himself. Tan Chang gave me a deep, searching look. Furthermore, what exactly is your realm? To let a peak 6th grade cross that threshold. An ordinary grandmaster could never achieve such a feat. I smiled but did not answer. Instead, I took Sui's hand and laughed. The view at the beach is lovely. Let Daddy sing a little tune to liven things up. Sui clapped her little hands and cheered. He loves hearing Daddy sing the most. Daddy's songs are definitely better than the kindergarten teachers. My voice drifted gently along with the sea breeze. Grant me a moment of intoxication. For the days ahead hold no flavor, though the journey spans 1,000 miles. None remain to climb the heights with me. Desolate and lonely, Sui only thought her father's voice sounded beautiful, and felt nothing more beyond that. But Tan Chang heard the profound sense of isolation, of one who has already become peerless in the world. None remain to climb the heights. What staggering arrogance. Even a 9th grade great-grandmaster would not dare say such a thing. Tan Chang cupped his fists and spoke loudly. Tan Chang thanks Senior for your guidance. I will never disclose your relationship with me. Please rest assured, Senior. My lips are sealed. Tan Chang lowered his voice and added, Su Lai, I understand your hardships. I will protect your daughter well. This is my mission. Go about your business with peace of mind. I listened, utterly bewildered. I had no idea what kind of grand drama this guy had cooked up in his head. What are you talking about? What hardships? I do not understand a single word. Tan Chong War and I understand everything expression. Give me own last day. Once I have left my name on the heaven rank of Mount Shu, I will be your daughter's shadow from tomorrow on. Having said that, Tan Chong cupped his fists before him and performed a standard martial arts salute. He turned and departed with a solemn expression. His retreating back radiated a sense of tragic resolve. Though I found it quite bizarre, I still nodded. Fine, go ahead then. I wondered if he had scrambled his brains during his training. I watched Sui running around happily on the beach, and a gentle smile appeared at the corners of my mouth. I really enjoy this current life. It is very peaceful. No fighting, no killing, and no frustrating troubles. This is truly the life I have always dreamed of. Little did I know at that moment that Taodai, the divine general acting as regent of the heavenly court, when facing mountains of paperwork late at night, was always missing me with tears streaming down his face. Sui cupped a bit of seawater in her small hands, suddenly splashing it on me with a laugh. Then she shouted, "Daddy, let us have a water fight. Watch out for my super water bomb attack." I feigned a fierce look and lunged forward. "You dare sneak attack your old man. Watch my counterattack. Here comes the monster." 2 hours later, I stood there completely drenched, beside Sui, whose clothes were also half soaked. Like two primary schoolers who had done something wrong, we stood in the corner as punishment. 3 steps away from us stood Ruan Tang with a face as cold as ice. She had her arms crossed, radiating a chill that made neither father nor daughter dare look up. Sui tugged at the corner of her skirt with her tiny hand, her beautiful large eyes misty with tears. "Mommy," she said aggrievedly, "Daddy wanted to play in the water. He did not know anything about it." I stared at my daughter in disbelief. In my heart I roared, "Daughter, how could you set me up? You were clearly the one who started it." That was a record-breaking speed for shifting the blame. Ruan Tang glared with her beautiful eyes and scolded, "Su Lai, you are something else. Leading the way in splashing water like that. Do not you know the temperature difference between day and night is huge? What if E catches a cold?" I tried to defend myself. She is a child. What is wrong with liking to play in the water? Besides, I am a divine healer. Even if she catches a cold, I was cut off before finishing. Ruan Tang sneered. "So it really was you who led the way. It is own thing to be reckless yourself, but to take our daughter along with your madness. Do you have even a shred of fatherly responsibility?" I was truly at a loss for words. Ultimately, I could only let out a helpless sigh. Fine, I accept my fate. Who else would take the fall if not me? I do dote on my daughter, after all. Ruan Tang pointed at the corner. "Face the wall for an hour. Think long and hard about what you have done." Having said that, she picked up E and headed to the bathroom to wash her. Once they were finished, Ruan Tang went to her room to blow dry her hair. Sui walked sheepishly toward me while I was still facing the wall. Her little face was full of apology. Sui tugged at my sleeve. "Daddy, I am sorry. He sold you out just now, because he did not want to be scolded. Will you be mad at he?" I gently pinched my daughter's nose. I gave an indifferent smile. "Daddy understands. After all, your mother is terrifyingly fierce. Daddy's skin is thick. I am not afraid of a scolding." Sui nodded repeatedly. She stole a cautious glance at the master bedroom, then whispered, "But teacher said we must apologize for mistakes. I want to make it up to Daddy." With that, the little girl slipped her tablet into my hand. She looked at me with a gaze expectant of praise, as if to say, "See, I am a good child." I curiously turned on the tablet. My face quickly darkened. The photo album was filled entirely with pictures of Ruan Tang. I put on a stern face, giving Sui a gentle flick on the forehead. "If your mother found out about this, you would be in trouble." I handed the tablet back. "In the future, be an upright person like your father. I will pretend I did not see anything today. You should forget about it too." Sui nodded her little head vigorously. The guilt on her tender face deepened even more. Not only did Daddy not scold her, but he also helped her cover it up. He truly is the best father in the world. After showering, I started cooking diligently. A lavish meal of 3 dishes and a soup. As a spoonful of lotus root soup entered her mouth, Ruan Tang narrowed her eyes in pure bliss. This soup was quite simply a world-class delicacy. The fresh aroma flowed through every inch of her body, wiping away all of Ruan Tang's fatigue in an instant. Her mood brightened as well. Just then my phone rang. A respectful voice came through. "Mr. This is Fang Zheng. Do you have some time recently?" Sensing Fang Zheng's hesitation, I had already guessed his intention. "Speak your mind. No need to beat around the bush." Fang Zheng hurriedly said, I wanted to ask you, what medicinal ingredients are needed to treat my son, Fang Cheng? I want to prepare them in advance. I will pay any price as long as my son can be saved. I said flatly, no special ingredients are needed. Tomorrow just bring your son directly to the Dongli University Clinic. I work there. Fang Zheng was left speechless. A literal grandmaster working in a university clinic. Just how massive is the background of that school? But he did not dare ask more and could only agree. Seeing me hang up the phone, Wan Tang casually asked who was calling. It could not be another one of your weird friends, could it? It is nothing major, just a vegetative patient who needs my treatment. The family is quite anxious and asked when I would be available. Wan Tang rolled her eyes hard, not taking it seriously at all. She just said flatly, all right, stop bragging. V and I are heading to the room to rest. You should come too. Hearing this, my spirits instantly lifted. My eyes lit up. Honey, you finally feel bad for me. Coming, I am on my way. A beautiful flush instantly appeared on Wan Tang's face, but her eyes turned exceptionally cold. I am asking you to come tell a story to coax the kid to sleep. Seeing my wife like this, I instantly deflated. I threw my hands up in an innocent gesture and said, then you should be clearer next time. Wan Tang gritted her teeth in anger. This guy actually had the nerve to blame her for not being clear. What an incredibly dense and unreasonable blockhead. Knowing when to stop, I cleared my throat and began to passionately narrate the invincible path of the Qingfeng Venerable. My voice was deep and magnetic. Wan Tang was still angry at first, but she was quickly drawn into the story, especially when hearing about Qingfeng Venerable being hunted by the immortal sex, and drawing the 9-color thunder tribulation to successfully counter-kill 90,000 enemies. Qingfeng Venerable survived a near-death experience, and used the bloodlines of 100 immortal sects to defy the heavens and change his fate. He finally broke the talent shackles that had bound the human race for 10,000 years, and achieved the heavenly venerable realm in one fell swoop. When Wan Tang heard that the human ancestral land finally birthed its first 10,000-foot Dao candle, and countless human cultivators tearfully chanted Qingfeng's name, she felt a profound empathy. She could not help but secretly wipe away the moisture at the corners of her eyes. Watching my wife's reaction, I continued to explain. This meant that the human race finally had its first heavenly venerable. They would no longer be suppressed by the heavenly Tao. The human race had truly risen. Wan Tang's heart surged with emotion. The human race, suppressed by the heavenly Tao for countless ages, had finally ushered in hope. My voice gradually grew more elevated. The human race began its journey of ascendance. In just a short 1,000 years, the 10,000-foot fortune candles, symbolizing human destiny, increased to a staggering total of 17. Wan Tang listened, completely entranced. As for Qingfeng Venerable's fortune candle, because his realm broke through once again, it grew to a terrifying 100,000 feet. The human race successfully secured the number 1 spot on the myriad races ranking. As I reached the end of the story, my voice became unusually calm, void of any fluctuation or emotion, as if narrating a past event that had nothing to do with me. Wan Tang looked at the man in front of her. An inexplicable emotion welled up in her heart. Carrying so many heavy missions, that legendary Qingfeng Venerable must have lived a very exhausting life, right? Hearing this, I paused slightly. Then, looking firmly at the moonlight outside the window, I said, he is not tired. Not at all, because this prosperous and brilliant golden age is exactly as he wished. Wan Tang fell into a long silence. Compared to that ethereal and illusory Qingfeng Venerable, she cared more about her life right in front of her, but she was also deeply touched by the phrase exactly as he wished. At this moment, Su Yi blinked her big eyes. She did not react like her mother, or get infected by that sense of mission to secure a destiny for the human race. The little girl simply thought the immortal realm her daddy described was so beautiful. I watched my daughter yawn and fall asleep, and a gentle smile curled at the corners of my mouth. I softly tucked her in. The next day, Qian Xiao was sitting on a swing inside the kindergarten. Even though it was the weekend, he still came to Galaxy Kindergarten, because his house was too lonely and no one was there to play with him. When the little guy saw that familiar boss lady silhouette, he, who had been bored to death, instantly got a gleam in his eyes. Big sissy, why are you here? Su Yi sniffled, and looked at him with a serious face. I'm sorry, Qian Xiao, I had a nightmare yesterday that you died, so I came specifically to see if you were still alive. The smile on Qian Zhao's face instantly froze. He turned into stone right there on the swing. He was not sure if his boss lady was happy he was not dead, or disappointed that he was not dead, but he did not dare to ask a thing. Standing at the school gate and watching this scene, I shook my head helplessly. No wonder my daughter adamantly refused to go to the office with Ruan Tang this morning, and made a fuss about coming to the kindergarten instead. To ease the awkwardness, Qian Xiao said, my parents are usually super busy with work, so I just stay at the kindergarten on weekends. Big sissy, do you want to come in and play together? Sui turned her head, and looked back at me with hopeful eyes. Can I, Daddy? I want to play with Qian Xiao in the kindergarten for a bit. He is all alone at home anyway. Terrified I might disagree, Qian Xiao quickly patted his chest and guaranteed, Uncle Su, please do not worry. Our kindergarten's security measures are excellent. It is absolutely safe. Nothing will go wrong. I smiled and nodded. Go ahead. Be safe inside and do not bully Qian Xiao. Actually, even without security guards, I felt perfectly at ease. After all, there was a martial ancestor-level expert secretly watching over her. Sui cheered and rushed into the kindergarten like a happy little bird, watching my daughter's joyful back. And knowing Tan Chong was hiding in the shadows, I left with peace of mind. At this moment, Lu Nanwei was bustling about in the school infirmary. Not only did she and Zhou Feng not dare to kick out the group of old men in the room, they even had to respectfully serve them tea and water. Zhou Feng looked at Li Shouzhong sitting on the chair, and the old friends beside him. They were all top experts in the medical field. Any single one of these old guys would shake up the entire region if they stepped outside. I was completely unaware of this at the time, and Zhou Feng had no way of notifying me. He could only watch helplessly as this group of experts was left hanging for a whole day, feeling both frustrated and helpless inside. Right then, Fang Zheng wheeled in a young man covered in oxygen tubes, walking into the school infirmary with an anxious expression. It was a good thing the infirmary was spacious enough. Otherwise, there really would not